elementary, my dear Naruhodo. The game is afoot.
Oh hi, it's been a while. It's been a long while, hasn't it? I told you guys I'd do it. I told you I'd do it. You didn't believe me. But I'm back to this game. Just once, just one time only, limited time deal. Get your coupons in today. Because, yeah, long story short, when I played the Great Ace Attorney last year, 2 specifically, there's all this bonus content that I never had time to do, and I said I would do one stream that looks at all the gallery stuff, all the music, all the little bonus trailers, and then also goes over the escapades. So, if you're watching this on the YouTube VOD, you'll see that the escapades are gonna be split up, and I'm gonna release them in due time. But for now, you get this. I'll look at all the little bonus content. So I will warn everybody. This stream will most likely contain spoilers for the Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2. Like, I was warned specifically when I first streamed the Switch version of this game. Like, yeah, don't look at the gallery. It spoils too. So, yeah, you know. Let's get into it and let's look at all this cool stuff I've been waiting a year to see. So right off the frickin' bat, yeah, you can see that, yeah, the title screen, it left off right where we left off in the game. Going back to Japan? No, maybe, no, actually not. Just staying here, being a lawyer for the ages. At least I didn't wait until like 5 years later when nobody knew I played this game. Oops. Yeah. Alright. Also, welcome on in, anybody coming on in. Drewby, hello, where's company, what's up? So, yeah. It's a little awkward, I don't know where to start here. Let's just start looking at stuff. Let's start looking at just everybody's portraits, and then I guess how I can do this is I can give a little retrospective about every character, what I remember about them, what I liked about their writing, and now that it's been a while, sort of a look back on what made them special to me. You know. So you got the main character, the main boyo, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, the ancestor of Phoenix Wright. I'm actually really glad they didn't play into it too hard. Oh, right, I forgot you could take a look and just see the character designer's notes. But what I liked really about it is he was his own character. He wasn't just, Phoenix Wright in a different era. No, he grew up under his own circumstances and yet became the same kind of person as his great-great-great-great-grandson. Hello, I'm Kazuya Nuri, art director and character designer for the game. Let me show you some of the character design and scene-setting artwork produced during the development of the Great Ace Attorney adventures. Here's the hero of the whole show, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. The main concern here was to strike a good balance between a period look of someone out of Meiji Japan and a believable ancestor of the protagonist of the main Ace Attorney games, Phoenix Wright. I think so too. They're probably gonna show the concept art. Yeah. Take a look at this. The first design, very obviously Phoenix Wright, but change. Hey, can I copy your homework? Sure, just make it different so the teacher doesn't notice. Yeah. Also, best boy, is that you, Moneta? Thank you for the resub. Welcome back to the chicken coop. Grab a nest, get comfy. Enjoy the emotes. There's no alerts today, by the way, everybody. Just to keep the pace going. Today's one of those days. I started off with a stoic university student uniform befitting the period, but I didn't want it to be too generic, so I altered the cut of the back and the sleeves and added some details to suit the Japan in the world of the Great Ace Attorney. You know, I would have loved to see the reference pictures he probably used to get, like, period-accurate uniforms. The buttons on the back accentuate and draw the jacket in to create smart, svelte lines. I like it. I especially like... I don't know, I'm glad that I didn't have to wear 2 formal school uniforms when I was in regular school. I didn't have to wear a uniform at all in high school and college. But just growing up in that era, you had to get everything tailored and perfect. Like, how much money did that cost? This picture was drawn as a reference for Ryunosuke's principal in-court camera angle. He has his sword drawn because, well, I just wanted to see what it would look like. Yeah, no, he never draws it in court. That would definitely be something that gets him held in contempt. Or disbarred. This is Ryunosuke's traveling to Britain outfit. I think he wears it for all of one cutscene. I included the skull cap and cape, as they lend an obvious period air, being so different to modern clothing. And I'd wear it in Team Fortress 2. These sketches are from the very first proposals. Oh wait, can I? Yeah, I can hide the text. No scenarios had been written at the time, so I had Ryunosuke younger than he ended up, and his hairstyle was based more heavily on his descendants than on something faithful to the period. A lot heavier. Like, you basically think, like, why does Phoenix Wright have, like, bedhead? The back looks the same, and then the front is just like, oops, I forgot to use hair gel. What is that? Was this a design for Naruhodo, or is that for Susato? Interesting concept, though. He had glasses at one point. Looking smart. Look at this boyo. Man, he should have kept those. Male hairstyles during the period, Meiji Japan, were nowhere near as diverse as they are today. They were either cropped short, side-parted, or swept back. I wrestled with various options to create something that was realistic and faithful to the period, and to Ryunosuke's personality, while still being suggestive of his descendants' manga-style hair. That's a very specific way to put it, huh? Who is this? Who is this? He's just a dude. They could just use this character design for somebody completely different, and you wouldn't even know that it's reused. Man, this is gonna take a while if we're gonna go through all this for every character. But hey, this is why I'm doing this as one stream, right? Francisca whips people. How's holding a sword any different? That's true, although they were probably more strict back then, and also this is the court in England. Look at this style. It reminds me of Bravely Default. Y'all ever play Bravely Default? I want to play that game someday, especially on stream. I remember drawing these sketches as a way to distract myself when I was stuck on the hairstyle. It turns out they came in useful for explaining how the game works in the game proposal documents. Whatever you want to tell yourself, dude. Ooh. Whilst the game overall character design is reasonably uncomplicated, I was conscious that I wanted to convey the unique qualities of this game's world by paying extra attention to the fine details. Look at the freaking defense attorney's emblem. In use for hundreds of years. At least over 100 years in this universe. Every accessory and adornment has personal significance to the character, which is an idea I hope players will use their imaginations to explore. Pretty good. So give it up for Ryunosuke, y'all. Good protagonist, good boyo. I kinda wish there were a few more games with him. Not because he didn't have enough screen time himself, but I feel like there's just so much more we could do with him. You know? Like, he has so much potential, and it makes me sad that there's only these 2 games. Susato Mikotoba. The assistant girl who is pretty much always required to be in every Ace Attorney game. There's always some sort of 16-year-old assistant girl. But what I really like about Susato is she's her own character. I've definitely said this during playing Great Ace Attorney, but she doesn't feel like she's just there to be like, Mr. Edgeworth, what does that mean? Time to quip a funny joke. Like, you know, if I were Edgeworth, I'd had a stern look on my face. Stop it, Edgeworth, you're scaring him. As much as I love Kay Faraday, it's like, no, Susato is here to be just as smart, or even actually usually smarter than Naruhodo. Usually. You know, and the fact that she has a connection to Kazuma, and then later her father, even though, you know, she's always had a connection to her father. You know what I mean? It just ties everything up so nice, and she helps drive the plot forward, like, actively, you know? Hello, I'm Kazuya Nuri, character art designer for the game. Let me show you some of the character design and scene setting artwork. Oh, okay, this is all the same. This is the female lead, Susato Mikotoba. Susato Tas! You want that armband? It does look pretty good. The theme for the design was that of a female student who embodied the principles of Yamato Nare Shiko, or a personification of the quintessential Japanese woman. Period accurate. So I decided to use the easily identifiable and typically Japanese cherry blossom as the Mikotoba family crest, influencing the pattern of her kimono and hem of the hakama trousers. The heart of Susato's character is her impeccable upbringing, which I've tried to bring out in various elements of her design, from her posture, facial expressions, and the quality of her kimono. If there's anything I love about, like, her animations and whatnot, is she does everything properly, but it doesn't define her. Like, she can, like, give you a fancy bow and then immediately a Susato toss and just throw you upside down, because ain't nobody gonna stop her. I designed Susato's wrap to complement Ryunosuke's traveling clothes. Knowing it would only appear in an anime cutscene, I decided to keep the design overwhelmingly simple with the exception of the clasp. And even then, it's just a cherry blossom. So many things get designed just for cutscenes, I barely even remember them. I barely even noticed when it was... because I played the original game on the 3DS version, so... everything was so tiny, pixelated. I wanted Susato's hair to be styled appropriately for the period, whilst at the same time being a little out of the ordinary. I ended up with something that looks relatively simple in silhouette, but is actually quite complicated. And you know, this is part of the cut case where Susato's arms went missing, but we found them eventually. No, that's just something that artists do to be like, you know, this is what it looks like without the arms obstructing. You know, especially with a kimono like that, the arms would just cover so much. Pretty good. This frontal portrait was drawn while the kimono pattern was being finalized. I tried a great many different designs before arriving at the final one, in order to find a pattern that didn't draw excessive attention. I like that little hair clip. Or band? I don't know how that physically works. Oh, this is a different design. It looks like a different person entirely. And this one just looks like Ash Blossom in Joyous Spring from Yu-Gi-Oh! This is an early proposal sketch, when it wasn't yet clear how folksy to make Susato. Later, in parallel with Mr. Takumi's scenario development, I got a better feel for her character and softened her into a refined young lady. Looks like someone out of a Ghibli movie, really. So in order, this is Studio Ghibli, this is Ash Blossom, and this is Eris from Final Fantasy VII. I keep forgetting that he's so much taller than her. This image was drawn to help with the anime creation. Anime cutscenes form bridges between various scenarios in the game, so it's vitally important to avoid any discrepancy between the renderings of the characters. And yet, like, it's been so long since I've seen them because they didn't really have any in the second game. They didn't have the budget for it, but at the same time, it added a sort of different charm. Like, it made it feel like Naruhodo and Susato were used to the hustle and bustle of London, used to living there. So the anime, you know, gives you that sense of, oh wow, look at this busy city, look at how different everything is between Japan and London. And here it's just, no, that's just where they are now. Whoa. It's always my intention not to interfere with the anime artists and their work, but sometimes minor corrections are required. It's a constant dilemma for me. Look at this. This is your YouTube clickbait thumbnail. Huh? They banned what in Yu-Gi-Oh? And I'm just thinking of the ban list that came out the other day. I can't stop. Like, my deck is... I need to completely remake it at this point. El Pollo Loco, that's me. That's a Manic Shark. Needs more circles and arrows? You know what, that's right. If I didn't use OBS, if I use, what's the other program? I forgot already. XSplit. I think that has the ability to draw directly on the capture. Then I would draw the red circle, and then put, like, text on there. Like, use a, like, liquid whatever tool to make her eyes freaking huge. And then draw, like, sussy Among Us's in her eyes. You know, that sad anime eye thing going around. Also factoring into Susato's design was how she would appear alongside Ryunosuke. In the end, I think that the contrast in conduct and bearing between the two helps to establish her as a memorable female lead. Like, props to the designer, because in a way, I felt Susato was way more memorable than Ryunosuke himself. Which is funny since he's the main character and you actually see him in court. All right, here's the boyo, here's the man, Herlock Sholmes. Never mind that the Japanese over here in the corner says Holmes. No, that definitely says Sholmes. It's one of those things. It's pronounced differently from what it's spelled. All right, so character setting. Oh, so I did out. Here we have the great detective himself, Herlock Sholmes. Not Sherlock Holmes, Conan Doyle Estate, do not sue us. But how was I going to come up with a design to satisfy the required unique take on the classic detective? I think he's perfect. Just make Sherlock Holmes into an anime boy, switch out his first letters of his name, you got a copyright free, baby! And you're right, Weenie, Susato is just that good. How you doing, by the way? Accidentally made an assistant worthy being in the pro tag. Yeah, like, can we talk about the beginning of Great Ace Attorney 2, where she was like the tutorial character, but she was so cool as the, was it dashing and gallant? Were those the words? Ryotaro. Yo, why didn't we get more of that? I'd expected that to be so much more of a thing in the second game. It disappointed me a little bit, but the rest of the game was so good that I didn't mind it as much. But we could have gotten so much more Susato in Japan. Like, doing it like Spirit of Justice, where you got like Japan Court, America Court, Japan Court. I'm sorry, yeah, well, no, not Japan, America, Korean, America. And then, in this game, it would have been London, Japan. Would have been so good. Anyway, here's Sholmes. To begin with, I brought some steampunk elements to the Victorian era character. Yeah, we're in a different era now. Then I tried to create a stylish arrangement of various period elements and some iconic characteristics of the original that I wanted to preserve. Oh man, I bet they had to translate this really carefully. Sholmes' personal crest combines the cogwheel motif of his consulting detective business and the simple flower design of Iris's crest. The cogwheel symbolizes the Industrial Revolution taking place in Britain at the time. There are also overtones of the relationship between Sholmes and Iris in the motif, with Iris, the flower, at the center being protected by Sholmes, the cogwheel, around the outside. Even that is freaking symbolic. I never really put it together, because when you see the design on his shoulder, it's like, yeah, that's a flower. Not really noticing that the outside is specifically supposed to be a cog. It's more like, oh, it just has like a little symmetrical design. But now I see it. I see it! It's somewhere. Excuse me, what? He has gun? When did that happen? Oh, right, he does. Hold on, we just appreciate the suitcase. Man's packing heat. Little steampunk, what is that? The plungers that you press in the Mario Party minigame to make Bowser explode? The little, like, chemical shooters he's got. Yeah, it's all coming back to me. Little compartment. I guess it has a printer. Dude's got everything in there. Yeah. Yeah, a little sad that Susato didn't really get a chance to, like, do anything as a protagonist more than she could have. But I really like her character and what we ended up getting, at least, because she's the best. I honestly think she's the best sidekick in all of Ace Attorney, because again, she feels like she's probably more of a protagonist than Ryunosuke is. They succeeded too well. I was careful to preserve the essential features of the great detective, such as the deerstalker and the pipe, arranging them into a character that would be instantly recognizable to all. The great detective. Is that what that hat is officially called? It's kind of amazing that it's so associated with Sherlock Holmes that people just call it the Holmes hat. Man, they said that they even call it that in Earthbound. And then yet, it's the deerstalker. Next. Look at that. His gun! Wait! He's got like a silencer, but it's his pipe? Yo, man comes prepared for everything apparently. Although, like, wouldn't there be a little hole at the bottom? I can't imagine that would be good for a silencer. Sholmes' equipment is an exception to the rule, in that it consists of technology belonging to a much more modern era than the game's setting, and takes in fantasy elements from the world of the Great Ace Attorney. The gun Sholmes makes use of in his investigations is a percussion revolver that could actually be employed as a regular firearm. Good thing he never does.
This gun is the best gun.
The idea is to juxtapose that with Ryunosuke's Japanese katana sword, thereby highlighting a significant difference between the Japanese and European cultures of the day. And also, shoo. When Sholmes' goggles are turned on, the shape of the center of each eyepiece lights up and rotates. It's supposed to conjure the idea of a lens attachment on the camera to complement the detective's investigations. Sadly, that couldn't be realized for Sholmes' in-game animations at this time. Is it really that hard for the 3DS? When Sholmes' goggles are turned... Okay. Ooh, off.
Getai!
On.
Getai!
On. Flowers.
Getai!
Terminator.
Getai!
Set off. On. Adding. Oh my. Freaking, you're telling me that I couldn't make animated goggles? And yet the same game has the likes of freaking... Oh, what's the guy's name? What's the guy's name that does the robot? I forgot. That dude has the best animations in all of Ace Attorney. He's just out there doing the robot on stand. Oh yeah, Enoch Drebber. Thank you, Indy.
Enoch Drebber.
I don't know, I believe it. This is Sholmes' indoor attire, since I assumed he wouldn't be comfortable relaxing at home whilst wearing all his detective's paraphernalia. His hair is styled as wisps of smoke to complement the indispensable pipe. Ah, so that's why it looks like that. Very fluffy though. Even without the smoke motif, like, how much product do you think he uses in his hair? We know he does. No, wait, no, he doesn't use hair product. He like drinks weird potions that turns his hair red. Although the usual portrayal of Sholmes is of a man with black hair, I wanted to give him a different color to provide some variety next to the hair of Ryunosuke and other Japanese characters. Yeah, the usual portrayal of Sholmes. You know, in every single piece of media that portrays Sholmes. Look at that, with the little, like, statue. He's so fluffy! Look at him, he's just like... He's got a mood to him. Like, yo, dude. Yo, dude. Remember, Sherlock Holmes canonically uses drugs. What's in that pipe, sir? What is in that pipe? This is a sketch I did for the initial proposal document. The image of Sholmes in the midst of analyzing evidence played a crucial part in portraying the souped-up role forensic investigation was to play in this game. The actual character design was still not fixed at this stage, even though the general direction had been decided already. He looks the same, basically. His indoor suit definitely a bit more detailed than it ended up being. I like the new one better. Here it's like, it's got a little bit too much going on. It looks like a Kevlar vest or something. Who the heck? What the? Is that Iris? Look at this. Early concept art it just blows my mind how different it can be. Like, who is this? Who is this man? That's not Herlock Sholmes. That's like the prosecutor in a theoretical third Great Ace Attorney game. His name is Steam Punkington. Oops. This is a very early proposal sketch. It was supposed to portray a somewhat dark London with heavy steampunk influences. In the end, the Sholmesness was too diluted, so the design was scrapped. I subsequently settled on the game Sholmes as a man whose striking appearance is only diminished by the striking erroneousness of his transcendent deductions. Did the original Japanese text have that much flavor to it, or was the translator having a little field day? All right, who's next? Is it Kazuma? It's Iris. Oh, are they saving Kazuma for last? Maybe, so you don't accidentally get spoiled. Here we have Iris Wilson, whose character was developed on the basic idea of a child genius. So why didn't they just make Jimmy Neutron? Oh wait, okay. Iris brings together a number of rather eccentric elements of the game world in a subtle and controlled way. At first glance, her hair appears to be tied up in a cute style that combines elements of ribbons, bows, and hearts. But in fact, her fringe follows a golden spiral, a logarithmic curve based on the golden ratio. That is, I would have never guessed. There's some science in her hair. So much science. What appears to be ribbons of hair tied in a bow from the front are revealed from the behind to be a Mobius strip, a type of surface with interesting topological properties signifying Iris's infinite possibilities. Yo, her hair is one contiguous surface? It is infinite? So what, is it just like glued on? If an ant were to march on her hair, it would move on infinitely, forever. Gun? Gunner? Gun est. Yeah, the game did mention that other interpretations of Holmes usually use dark hair. Is that like, I don't know, has anybody in the chat ever read the Arthur Conan Doyle books? I want to know if they ever like describe a canon appearance for Sherlock Holmes. Because at this point, like, maybe he looks like Benedict Cumberbatch. Maybe he looks like Robert Downey Jr. Maybe he looks like, I don't know, that one computer game with the teleporting Watson. I decided to make use of a flower plant motif in Iris's character design. That was partially inspired by the long history of the use of herbs and plant aroma has in Britain, but also because the idea of blending herbal teas fits naturally with Sholmes' chemistry-based investigative techniques. Oh, and then they turned that into the joke of Iris making like weird teas that have chemical properties to them. The goggles, gun, and knapsack are a set that matches Sholmes' accoutrements. The goggles in particular were part of the initial design, and always intended not just to be a cute addition, but to lend a dubious air to Iris's appearance, to make people think there's more to her than meets the eye. Transformers! He's read the first 3 books, but you forgore. Gotta start from the beginning. It's like playing video games and then not playing for a year, and then you have to start from the beginning again. Much like I'm doing right now. Oh yeah, I forgot she has like a thermos. Iris and Sholmes' inventions are, as a rule, far more advanced than the science and technology of the era in which the game is set. The thermos flask would have been considered a magical bottle at the time, but in the game's late Victorian setting, Iris and Sholmes have already developed one and make use of it in their everyday lives. Though technologically advanced, the appearance of their inventions follows the typical style of the era. Iris carries a gun she's developed, the Aroma 1, in her knapsack. I'm hoping they talk more about the little dolls. Cause yeah, like the little mouse Ryunosuke and the bunny Sherlock Holmes that actually became part of the plot. I'm really happy that ended up being a thing. Pull on its ears. It really pulls your ears. I noticed this. This was not on the original concept art. Oh, that makes me a little bit sad that they probably had to censor the concept art or like rewrite it. Cause yeah, she's Iris Watson in the original Japanese. Iris Watson. They can't say Watson though, they have to say Wilson. You remember Herlock Sherlock Holmes is supposed to have a hooked, sharp nose. All the better to hook into a deduction, eh? These are, oh yeah, they are gonna talk about it, cool! These are the felt doll charms that Iris has attached to her knapsack. They're a bear and hare, based on Iris and Sholmes, and were originally going to be very instrumental in the story, and be shown in a lot of close-up detail. I mean, one of them was. I gave a great deal of thought to their construction whilst trying to make them as fun as possible. They're a particular favorite of mine. I like the little expression this bear has, like, yeah, your deductions are pretty good, but you know, my inventions are better. And of course, Holmes just being proud of himself. What does that say? Button. Oh, button. I see. And again, with the more original designs. I like the outfit. Pretty cool. I do like the hair that she ends up getting. But these designs are just so great in general. This is an illustration from a time when I had Iris in a hat for out and about clothing. At this stage, her character hadn't been finalized, so I drew her older than in the final game and with a more ladylike air. What? Now this is just a different Yu-Gi-Oh card entirely. Looks more gothic. Yeah, and the alternate costumes that they ended up getting as DLC kind of look more like this, so it's cool that we kind of got this. I like the pilot's goggles that kind of look like a bear head. These sketches were done when I was exploring some elements of a magical girl to incorporate into Iris's character design. What, was she gonna carry around a wand? As a way of giving her more punch, she has a much brighter look here than in the previous illustration. This is an illustration I drew when Iris was almost complete. It contains all the key elements that make up her design, though her face is a little more mature than in the final cut. In the end, I gave her a slightly brighter and more bubbly expression and included some additional ladylike touches to produce the young Miss Wilson you all know from the game. Yeah, it's like she's almost there. It's like Walmart Iris Wilson. Great value. Who we got next? Is it Tobias Gregson? It's Kazuma! Okay. Alright, y'all. If you're still thinking about playing this game, I will say maybe don't pay attention for the next 20 minutes or so. Just saying. Director, character designer. Now for Kazuma Asogi. Not Kazuma Kiryu. He ain't ever here to sing karaoke and dame dane you to death. The basic theme for Kazuma design was that of a classic young Japanese man. His constantly billowing Hachimaki headband is there to differentiate him from Ryunosuke, giving him a more confident and combative energy. Well, you know, if you have a headband, you have infinite ammo. Colonel, there's no doubt that wherever Kazuma is, the winds of change are blowing. So that's what's making his headband flow. It's the wind of change. Whilst clearly Kazuma has the spirit of a samurai, he is also keenly aware as a visiting student hopeful of the shifting cultural attitudes arising from the Meiji Restoration. The addition of the leather gaiters and sword belt as influences from the Western world highlight the character's social awareness. Whoa! Freaking cool. This should have been the box art to the game. It would have sold way more copies. I desperately wanted to draw Kazuma in the act of drawing his blade, so I included that in the key visual. This is the second time he's used the excuse. Like, yeah, I just wanted to see the sword. It's cool. What the? He also used to have glasses. He reminds me of the class president dude from My Hero Academia. Yeah, with the like engine in his legs. Same character, same picture. These are some sketches I did during a transition phase when we were considering who should have glasses. Eventually we settled on that being Satoru Hosonaga. Ouch, he doesn't count. Whose design I was also working on at the time. Yeah, there's a very Hosonaga feel to this one. So Kazuma ended up with just his Hachimaki headband instead. But for a while, competition who would become bespectacled one was fierce. You know, when I first played, I definitely thought Hosonaga would have sort of a bigger role. Like maybe he'd follow us to London and then have an undercover part. But he kind of just, he was just kind of there. I'm glad that he reappeared in 2, but it's like, he didn't do anything. He gave testimony. We never found an explanation for his coughing up blood. He just has a medical condition. I'm concerned. He should go to a doctor. For a second, I thought he was bald in that one. And this one just makes him look like Subway Master Ingo. With the combination of the headband and the glasses, Kazuma took on a far too studious look. So although I was pleased to have explored the possibility, this was the drawing that convinced me it was not the right approach. Yeah, for Kazuma's character, like, it would not have been right. It would not have. Kinda looks like Seto Kaiba. This sketch was done when Kazuma's design was almost finished. I was hoping to draw both Ryunosuke and Kazuma side by side wearing matching hats and cloaks. That's a picture I'd like to draw someday. Do it! Do it! Since Kazuma plays such an important role in the story, I put a lot of energy into giving him a striking appearance that immediately reveals his dependability and kind-heartedness, as well as his relentless determination. I really hope he makes a memorable impression on everyone who plays the game. You know it. Oh, we're on Barok van Zieks now. Alright, okay. Kazuya Nuri.
Here we have the British prosecutor, Barok van Zieks, whose character was to be themed on the sinister Reaper of the Bailey demigod.
That's an existing thing? Really? Despite the God of Death theme suggested for the design, I decided to avoid taking that too literally, instead trying to produce a character whose bearing and presence conjured ideas of death and darkness. I made his clothing extremely ostentatious, drawing on elements from a variety of traditionally British ceremonial and military attire. Military is freaking right. Dude looks like he's ready to go fight in the American War of Independence and lose. I also added some extra ribcage-like detail around the midriff. The midriff. Is that what that's supposed to look like? Kinda. As with Kazuma's headband, I knew that realizing his Van Zieks' cloak in-game would be technically complex, but I also knew that it lent a lot of credence to his dark persona, so I was quite insistent about it. Yeah, flowing fabric on the 3DS, pushing that to its limits. There's art of him in There's art of Ryunosuke and Kazuma in matching clothes already? I guess he did it! Yeah. Yeah, who knows when these little pieces were written? For all I know, they were written when the first game only came out. You know? Maybe a long time ago. The end result was that the aristocratic prosecutor's flamboyance and Dracula... Oh wow! Oh wow, they confirmed that he really is Dracula-esque. He was supposed to be a vampire man. Dracula-esque darkness are both instantly appreciable, and I'm very grateful to the staff for their determination in achieving that goal. Yeah, every Let's Player I've seen play this game really points out, like, oh yeah, he's Dracula. Like, he's a vampire man. And some of them really even go into it, like, just making him sound like, Bleh, I am the Reaper of the Bailey. Way, I want to drink this wine. But also, like, that does... It's fun, but if you keep that, then it's hard to take him seriously, especially in the second game. These rough sketches were my attempt at consolidating my ideas about the prosecutor's image. His look needed to be more than just piercing. It needed to portray a sad and tortured soul as well. So, like Tumblr Sexy Man, probably. You know it! I will say, this just looks like Castlevania art. It just looks like, I don't know, Symphony of the Night concept sketch. Who is this Fire Emblem 3 Houses man? What house is he part of? The Red Vampires? This is a very early illustration I came up with and rejected a lot of different ideas myself over a long period of time. Yeah, this was not right at all. I submitted only the one that resonated most with me to Mr. Takumi and was given the go-ahead to proceed. Among the main cast, this character underwent a unique development process. I didn't show anybody my designs for the prosecutor, including the drawings from this stage of the process. Yeah, I wouldn't show anybody this one either. Like, you know, it's way better than I could draw. But also, like, this? This is the Reaper of the Bailey? I like the cross. I like the cross on his neck. That's something that I think they could have kept, maybe. And the middle one's just Alucard. The right one is just Alucard. It's just Alucard. What does this say? Roshan? I like to consider lots of options in the early stages, so I produce a wide range of drawings at the start of the process. Even if I had thought an idea might not be quite right, I put it to paper so I could home in on the perfect design. I believe that. Yeah, like, it's good to see like what works and what doesn't, because maybe you won't know until you actually put it on paper. You know? Is it just me, or does this kind of feel like it's just Edgeworth? It's just Edgeworth after he hasn't gotten a haircut all year. Excuse me? What's with the hat? This is the most entertaining concept art for me yet. It's so different. This is a proposal drawing I made just before settling on the final design. Personally, I was quite fond of this one. He has a more pained expression than in the final version, and the cloak is modeled on a raven's plumage. I like that. Although it would probably be hard to render on the 3DS, and, you know, with Simon Blackwell, they probably didn't want too many prosecutors based on birds, you know? This is literally just a military man. This is just a military man. Again, another Fire Emblem's Three Houses character. I've always enjoyed Dark Heroes, so I really like all the elements of Van Zieks' design and overall appearance. What a freaking process. Like, these are all supposed to be the same guy? Obviously different designs, but yeah, no, that's a pretty good look at the design process for this guy. Miscellany. Aw, they're not gonna go into like Tobias Gregson or like freaking, I don't know, William Shakespeare. This picture includes all of the main characters and was produced in the same vein as the artwork I came up with for the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, to make it instantly obvious that this title is from the same series. Yeah, all the art for all the games in Japan pretty much all looks like this. Like the 4 vertical slices of characters from the game. You know, I didn't even mention it, but I just got in a shipment from Japan of some games that I saw for outrageously low prices. I found a site that was selling the first 3 Ace Attorney games. On the DS, though, I still eventually want them on Game Boy Advance, because Game Boy Advance visual novels, heck. But it is nice to have the Japanese versions of those games, because that means I can play them in English without having to open my American copies. Yeah, I have sealed copies of the Phoenix Wright trilogy. I've never opened them because I played them through other means back in the day. But I have copies now. It was used as the key visual in the early stages of development. Ooh, look at that. Look at Sholmes in the suit. Reminds me of Akechi from Persona 5 a little bit, actually. Hosonaga just over in the right. And what is that? Is that beef stroganoff? Is that freaking beef stroganoff? Look at that guy. Look at him. And is that Giselle Brett? In this section of the gallery, I'd like to present some of the character design drawings for the less major characters that were created during the development process. I hope you enjoyed them. Alright, let's have a look. It's Mikotoba! We move on to the contingent from the Empire of Japan. Look at him! Look at that. Is that just like... Is that a different concept, or is that just a drawing of when he was younger? Maybe. I wish he still had the mustache. I wish he still had the mustache. Look at him! If they had... Oh, man. If they had a game starring, like, young Mikotoba and even younger Sholmes, and it was just, like, them going around solving mysteries. Yeah, you know what? I would absolutely love that. Why don't... They should make a game about that. Eugene Mikotoba. He's Susato's father and a university professor, so I had to make sure his expression could be seen as both kindly and stern. I think he nailed it. Yeah, I think they nailed it. Look at this. You don't know if this is an expression that means like, "Hi, how was school? Welcome back. Did you have a good day?" But it's also an expression that's like, "It appears that you are late with that lab report. I specifically requested that it be done by today so that we make sure we get the results to the head of the dean of the university, and they are late. What am I gonna do about that? What are we gonna do about that?" I've established the cherry blossom as the emblem of the Mikotoba family, and Eugene's pink Howdy overcoat clasp is modeled on a cherry tree in full bloom. Is that what that is? The hem of Susato's Hakama trousers also carries the family crest. Oh, and I guess this is supposed to be like when he was 16 years old. No. It's literally just Winston Payne. It's literally just Winston Payne in an outfit. You thought there's a lot more from the art book? Yeah, I don't know how much this game includes, but yeah, we'll see. I guess maybe they've broken it out into like, oh, here's just the first game stuff. Because maybe they don't want to spoil stuff. Maybe that's it. I would imagine if they were allowed to, they include all the stuff from the second game. But maybe there's legal reasons for that as well. Taketsuchi Ouchi. This character's design crystallized in an instant. I wonder. I verbally suggested the idea of a chomage top knot to Mr. Takumi, and he immediately agreed. I made some sketches of Ouchi with round glasses on, since they were the norm in Meiji Japan, but it was just too much of a departure from his descendants' usual look, so I reverted to the normal shape of glasses we're all familiar with. Yeah, there's something about it that's like, when you go from this, you're like, yeah, that's Winston Payne. That's Ouchi. But then you do this, and it's like, who is that? That's a different person. That's a different person entirely. The glasses really change him. Like, he reminds you of, I don't know, that one scientist dude from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Robbie? And then this is just Winston Payne. Ah, there he is. Judge Jigoku. You think there's a Great Ace Attorney 2 section I haven't found yet? I don't know. Like, where would it be? Would there be a way to unlock it? I would imagine, but I would also think it would just be here. Maybe it unlocks, maybe who knows if it exists. But, you know, I'd at least think that finishing Great Ace Attorney 2 would unlock it. The judge of the Supreme Court of the Judicature of Japan, I decided to take a different direction with this judge as compared to previous judges in the series. I think it paid off. Like, what is that hair? To accentuate the military atmosphere of the Japanese courtroom at the time. Since he passes judgment on wrongdoers, I thought I'd take inspiration from the portrayal of the Buddhist god Enma. Then I added the beard and some flames into my design. I made his gavel golden and styled it on the traditional Uchide no Kozuchi, magic hammer of Japanese legend. What? I want to look that up now. The Uchide no Kozuchi? Uchide no Kozuchi. Let's learn. Let's learn some legends. Well, first of all, I found like somebody making a recreation of it. And that is a WebP. I must save this WebP as a JPEG. Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? Look at that. Yeah, that's exactly his gavel. Just a little bit longer and just extend it a little bit. And I guess, like, it would have been cool if they had these little patterns. Would have been. Don't know if the 3DS would have really had the pixel density to show it, though. Yeah. Yep, that's the judge. What a shame we only see him in the beginning of the first game. But what a shame. Oh, this guy. Curio Correcta. Not the name I know him by, but it's definitely a name. Since this man is a merchant, I initially decided to base his design on Ebisu, one of the 7 gods of fortune, and the traditional Japanese god of prosperity and business. I thought that was the name of Goemon's friend from Mystical Ninja Goemon. But when I showed my... You know, it's the same name. When I showed my rough sketches to Mr. Takumi, for some reason the idea of Correcta being long and thin came up, so I switched to another of the gods, Fukuro Kuju, as a more fitting source of inspiration. Fukuro Kuju. Oh, well, I would have liked to see the original one then. He's very bald. Very bald. His mouth, like, it looks like he ate a sour candy. I wanted to have him constantly eating sticky mochi rice cakes, which would get caught in his throat, but it seemed a little too dangerous to portray, so great self-restraint, I stopped myself. Lol. Lol. Oh, and I guess that's what this is portraying. Like he's eating the mochi cake and he's like, yes sir, no sir. I was going for a stereotypical military man at the time in order to give players a clear sense of the era. He appears to be a regular, smartly turned out soldier, but on his back, he harbors a great secret. How did he bring that into court without anybody noticing, huh? That's a baby! That's a baby! At first we considered having Iesa fold cranes in secret as a sideline business, hiding his paper creations behind his back. But after fleshing out the details with Mr. Takumi, the idea of "I don't know, sir" came kicking and screaming into the world. Like a baby! That's what they call this baby? I don't know, sir. I don't know. The constantly runny nose is an expression of the poor nutrition children of the time had to suffer. Is that what that means? So the kid in Wind Waker who chases you around with the runny nose, he's not eating well? Oh, that makes me sad. And Iesa's mustache was deliberately designed so it would be easy for a young Ido to tug. Lol. Look at it. Look at this. Look at this little dude. Look at this little guy, waiting to pull that stash. Just like this. Yoink. And of course, the similarity of the father-son hairstyles is another detail not to be missed. Satoru Hosonaga. From the role he plays in the scenarios, I could sense this character had potential for further involvement, so I give him a more believable appearance than other witnesses in the game. That's actually interesting. Like, yeah, because he was designed more realistically, and I guess intentionally so, I thought that Hosonaga would have a bigger role than he ended up having. So, yeah, props to the character designer for giving me that feeling just from looking at him, but a little sad that he didn't, you know? Also, chicken! Chicken! His design is built on the idea of a young man with fragile good looks who wouldn't be out of place in even the most delicate of situations. That is a lot to, like, put in a character design that only ends up getting used so much. Man, yeah. It's things like this that make me wonder how much the character designer gets told of the plot before everything gets put into place. Like, who knows how much was decided by then? You never know what haha funny little character is gonna end up being like, oh, secretly the world's greatest assassin or something, you know? Especially in Ace Attorney, so it's like, yeah, I can see why the character designer, like, puts a lot of thought into this. The reason for the chick motif on the napkin he carries as a waiter of La Carnival was as a kind of covert foreshadowing of Giselle's involvement, and because the restaurant was originally going to specialize in serving game. But then it became steak. I see. Foreshadowing Giselle. That's actually really cool. And look at her, the lady of the hour. Giselle Brett. Being the first Western character you encounter as the story starts to unfold in Japan, I decided to make her somewhat of a bizarre fantasy-style gentlewoman who would leave a strong visual impression. It was a deliberate attempt to heighten expectations, or trepidation, about the overseas voyage soon to follow. The mask she wears was styled to pair with the eyes of the swan on her hat. I almost eliminated the chicks from Giselle's design on numerous occasions, but they made it through in the end. Chicks? What chicks? What? Whoa, wait. Is it like one of the animations where, like, the flowers get replaced with chicks or something? I barely remember. Lots of flowers, though. Man, it's been so long since I played the first one. Is that a baby me? Oh, you know, here's a picture of me when I was younger. And my brothers and sisters that I don't have. You know, they got sent to KFC and they never came back. I hope they're doing good. Ah, look at this. These are, every time I see a character that is from the first game only, I'm like, I've literally never heard their name. Literally never heard what their name ended up being, so. Nikolina Pavlova, I designed Nikolina to have an immediately obvious Russian appearance. Her image was based on the idea of a Russian fairy, and I implemented her as a beautiful, reticent young woman of fair complexion. So, I guess they... Did we ever see her, like, in a dancer outfit like that? I don't even remember. It's been so long. Oh, okay, so Gisele's breakdown is her swan flying up, and the chicks fell out from the hat. Got it. I barely remember that. Thanks for reminding me. Pretty good. Pretty good. I was a little confused about what he was talking about. Her image was based... Okay, due to the nature of the story, I was constrained in terms of her clothing, but since there aren't many orthodox female forms in this game, I did try to bring out the telltale lines of a young lady even through the layers of her disguise. Man, if you had told me this was from the Great Ace Attorney, and not from, I don't know, Investigations 2 or something, she just looks like a character, like a modern Ace Attorney character. Your feline friend is obviously a Russian blue. Cat? This cat's got nice eyelashes. Oh, the judge from Europe, the judge from England. Look at that. He really does evoke the regular judge, but only a little bit. He's just even more Santa Claus-y than the Santa Claus we see. It's Miku, an Ace Attorney. What? You're a dancer? I never knew that. Now we move on to the contingent from the British Empire. The Judge of the Old Bailey. I had made the Japanese judge quite severe, in keeping with the feel of the Japanese courtroom, so I decided to make his English counterpart follow the more kindly appearance of the series' regular judge. Yeah! Like I just said, it kind of feels like the regular judge, but maybe he styled his beard a little bit different, and he put on glasses. Something like that. Plus you have a cat. Is it a Russian blue? And you know about it is just Queen Miku. All right. This is who I'm gonna be looking for when we go to Disneyland. For example, in contrast to the jagged beard of the Japanese judge, this judge's beard is more fluffy in nature. It's like a cloud. Like a cloud just migrated to his face and stayed there. The wig, by the way, isn't just a visual gag. That's actually what judges of the day wore. I also researched the sort of clothing British judges would have worn in that period and used that to create a design that's unique to this game. I like the image of him just holding the gavel. Like he's about to walk up and smack you with it. Like, you get on your bullshit again, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. Jurors! Yeah! I want to learn more about the jurors because the ones that ended up getting reused, there's ones that ended up, like, being more important to the plot than you'd think. I was given instructions that the jurors didn't need any particular idiosyncrasies, but just in case, I thought I'd design some characters with a variety of unique traits. And it was those designs that were picked. Lol. Yeah, because we see that this was like the stagecoach driver, right? And then we see him as like a little cameraman. This was the stenographer type business lady. That was the guy that's like, I know about science, I think. I don't remember. Yeah. As a result, there was really little difference between the jurors and the witnesses, which meant I'd given myself a lot of extra work to do. But seeing court battles that include both jurors and witnesses justified all the effort. You know, I wonder how much these really over-designed, but like purposefully designed characters, maybe they contributed to the plot of the game being a little bit more juror-focused. I think that was a good thing for it. Really set it apart from other Ace Attorney games, and even Professor Layton vs. Ace Attorney, which has not jurors, but like multiple witnesses. Kind of makes it the same thing, since the jurors end up being witnesses accidentally, and you wouldn't think there's conflict of interest. Look at his stance. Look at So Sexy Natsume's stance. Man's ready for battle. He's a punch you in the face. He's got his fists clenched. He's like, I'ma deck ya. Oh, that's a knife? For some reason, I thought that was a baton. Oh, he was the guy that hated cops. That's right. And anti-rich people and looks nice. Like, So much that ends up being just like, yeah, that's the character. You know, he's not secretly a killer or anything. He's just a juror. He's a barber. Heck. Soseki Natsume. Mr. Takumi had asked for Soseki to come across as someone with a very nervous disposition and erratic behavior, so I concluded that his facial expressions would have to be a key part of his design. I approached the design from the angle, playing around with various different facial expressions. Even though he's based on a real person, the Soseki of this game has a unique appearance with some heavily exaggerated features. Like, you look at a picture of the real Soseki Natsume, and he barely even looks like the dude. Miku's hair is a different color now. Maybe you'll change it. How often do you think you dye your hair, Miku? I briefly considered dyeing my hair red at one point in my life because I wanted to be Scott Pilgrim for Halloween. But after finding out that if you have dark hair and you want to dye it anything, you have to like bleach it first, and I was not down for that. That felt dangerous, so I ended up not doing it. But imagine if I did. It almost feels like not the same person. It almost feels like not the same person. Although he is wearing the suit. You know what? I probably believe that this design is based on this picture. Like straight up, with the actual suit. The emotion expressed by his eyes is a particularly important part of his design. I hadn't specifically been asked to include the cat, but I sketched a tricolor calico at Soseki's feet and was delighted when Wagahai was picked up and used in the game. Wagahai wa nako de aru. Wagahai. Yeah. You love Takumi that was like, hey, can I put your famous relative in my game and also make him really pathetic? And Soseki's real family was like, hell yeah. Oh, they got permission from the estate or from the descendants. That's cool. It's a good thing that they did. A lot of games in media would just put person in because, oh, he's historical, man. Who cares if he's represented well? But no, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Arthur Conan Doyle estate wouldn't have the balls. The Sun and Moon peoples. Like I said, witnesses becoming actually, like, importante. Look at the Moon Man. Look at the Moon Man. John and Joan Garadib. I really had to work hard on this pair since they're so intimately tied up with the story. The guiding principle for their design was a sun and moon silhouette, along with the idea of a pufferfish for Joan. Oh, so that's why her hair kind of looks like fish fins. Compared to the newlyweds of Constable and Mrs. Beat, with their passionate love for each other, the Garadibs are an older couple, and I wanted to show a different form of love in their relationship. Different form of love. Mr. and Mrs. Beat. Are those Pat and Rolla? Oh, here we go. Rolly and Pat Beat. Okay, so that's their names that ended up getting chosen. These two were a fun little pair, I will say. There are a lot of pairs of witnesses who appear together in this game, but I had a firm idea of how I wanted these two to interact from the outset, so I actually worked backwards from there. Pat and Rolla. I designed them as a single unit, two people moving and acting as one. The scarf that goes around both their necks is a good example of that. Oh right, it's joined. Talk about being joined by a thread of fate. They're joined by an entire woven scarf. They were modeled on the idea of dolls, wooden marionettes or porcelain dolls, and are supposed to have a fantasy world image despite being virtually penniless, to bring out their genuineness and their sweet personalities. You know, I just realized, yeah, their clothing is all like patchwork. And yet they make it work. See, this is their love working in the face of them having like no money, but they still like live their lives to their fullest, you know? Oh, here we go, Gregson, my boy. I designed Gregson as a stereotypical Scotland Yard detective of the day. His collar turned up, and the obligatory packet of fish and chips in his hand. Is that part of being a Scotland Yard? I mean, I want fish and chips right now. I'm hungry. I'm debating getting a snack before we record the escapades. Is that a good idea? Because if I do that, I might end up with like a scratchy throat or something. If I, like, my snacks right now, I've got spicy chips, I've got almonds, I've got pistachios, and tip for voice actors, you're not supposed to eat nuts before voice acting because they all like irritate your throat. That's a bad idea, but I'm hungry. I'm hungry, I want some chips. As he's always stuffing them in his pockets, I imagine his hands and the lining of his pockets are constantly covered in chip fat. Lol. Whenever I see him eating, my stomach starts to rumble. Right, though? Right? Man, you know what? I'm going for fish and chips again this weekend. I have to. I have to. Here's the thing. My dad's birthday was last weekend, and because I was out of town, I'm celebrating it this weekend. And the usual thing is to buy my parents, you know, some nice food that they don't usually get. They love seafood. They'd love to get some fish and chips. Ooh, I gotta find a good seafood place in my hometown. I live in California. We're always by the coast. There's gotta be something good. Gina Lestrade, I have no idea anymore. Gina was the character who underwent the most changes as a result of story rewrites. Originally, she wasn't going to be a pickpocket at all. Consequently, I had to redesign her in the later stages of the production process. Her outfit helps to portray her complete lack of money, and Mr. Takumi requested that I make her clothes not quite fit properly as well. It's like, she's an anime main character. And, you know, I just accepted that as like, yeah, she looks absolutely amazing for being somebody who's just living off the streets. And then, you know, the clothes signify that. To know that that was not intentional, and it's just like, oh, she was designed one way and then had to be retrofitted, that makes a lot more sense. That's the reason why her shirt is too large for her, for example. From my perspective, I wanted to allow her feminine spark to shine through from beneath her boyish appearance. Male Strongheart. Look at you, Mr. Vortex Man. Mr. Great-Great-Grandfather of Cindy Vortex from Jimmy Neutron.
Male Strongheart.
I was aiming for a character with an immediately palpable presence and whose bearing was overwhelmingly intimidating. For no reason, you know, he's just a dude. My initial designs were quite militaristic, but Mr. Takumi asked for Strongheart to have an intellectual image instead, which gave rise to his current look, more reminiscent of a clergyman. His name, Vortex in Japanese, gave inspiration for the styling of his hair. There were also elements of the unicorns woven subtly into his design, since the unicorn features the British Royal Coat of Arms. For example, in profile, the front strand of Strongheart's hair looks like a unicorn's horn, as does the cane at his side. Who's that what that is? I also drew from elements of other creatures, like the Black Panther, to portray not only his intellectual prowess, but also his ferocity. For his clothing, I tried to bring in features found in prosecutors' outfits. Yes! Yes! Egg! Eggert Benedict. Still good, still good. This character was designed to have the appearance of a quintessential English gentleman, but also egg. Egg. I had a strong sense I wanted to go in this direction with this character, so I put a lot of effort into his design and was very relieved when it was approved. Man looks like an egghead. His clothing is detailed with elements related to bricks and brick buildings. What? I guess? And of course, he has numerous unusual flourishes and affectations to surprise players, so if any of you haven't seen them yet, do look out for them in the game. Well, I'd like to give more details about other characters as well, but I think I'll have to call it a day. Aww. Oh, hello? Adventures? Commemorative. Brothers of the Dawn. Yeah, yeah! So, I was talking about spoiler art. Don't worry about it. I turned to the iconic final scene at daybreak between Ryunosuke and Kazuma for the inspiration of this symbolic illustration of their parting of ways. The image of the sun rising between their crossed swords was something I desperately wanted to include in the game, and it turned out to be a very emotionally powerful scene. It hints at their futures while showing the metaphorical dawning of a new age of the law. Wow. Oh no, there's more! Oh no, there's more! Okay, so this is the Great Ace Attorney 2 stuff. I was wondering about that. Oh gee. And the DLC outfits as well. Look at Ryunosuke. Look at the little lad. Look at the little mousey. Can we get a spin-off game that just stars Ryunosuke? It'll be like those Hamtaro video games. You play as the little mouse, solving crimes and learning like mouse language. Hee so good. Before I begin, please be aware that there'll be a large number of big spoilers both in my comments and in the illustrations themselves, so I very strongly recommend finishing the 2 main games before going any further. Ryunosuke Naruhodo was used in promotional materials for the original release of Resolve. In it, Ryunosuke strikes a resolute, let's do this pose with his chest out and his collar straight. Along with his armband, katana, university collar pin, and arm guard, I strove to capture everything unique to Ryunosuke in a roughly triangular shape with his stance. Iris's homemade suit. I often like to create costumes that speak to a character's backstory or personality over how visually striking they are, but that can lead to the design feeling rather uninteresting after the first time you see it. To avoid that pitfall, I remember wanting to make his outfit feel connected to the story somehow, whilst expanding on the world of the Great Ace Attorney. So I added a few things here and there to spark the imagination and give you something new to find each time you play through the game with it on. One of these elements is the little Ryunosuke standing on Ryunosuke's shoulder that Iris made. If you look very carefully, its head actually moves in tandem with Ryunosuke's, but perhaps it's a bit too subtle. Oh no, I definitely noticed it when I played the game. I noticed it and was like, oh, look at that, he's moving, he's alive. The line and cut of the suit were also designed to complement Prosecutor Asogi's, making them a fine pair in court. You know, I thought that, and also more like inspired by Herlock Sholmes. I'm sure the connections are all there. Let's see how many sections there are. 23! 23! Oh boy, we have a lot to get through, y'all. See, there's a reason I dedicated an entire stream to this. I will say, though, my plan is definitely gonna be, after we read all of these, we'll take a quick little interlude break, and then record the escapades, because I'm hungry. I want a little snacky. Yeah, I'll get a snack. Maybe I'll get my, my squid chips. Yeah, those probably won't irritate the throat too much. Ryunosuke. Ryunosuke is so much cuter. Shrew is just like a little mammal, a little mouse rodent. I guess they wanted to keep the pun, but since the name isn't really said anywhere in the game, I feel like they probably could have just kept it Ryunosuke. Okay, well I guess maybe they're gonna localize the other names of these things. Susato Mikotoba. In her previous outing, her character illustration portrayed her as the ideal refined lady, a Yamato Nareshiko. Well, so this time I thought to show Susato's sweet and spirited side instead for Resolve. This was also allowed me to strike a better balance between Susato and Ryunosuke visually when they were to be featured together, side by side. You want the dress on the right? Isn't the steampunk design so good? I'm a little disappointed that you don't constantly see her in court as much as, say, other assistants in the Ace Attorney game. So it's like, how often do you get to see this outfit? Miku, wait till you see Iris Wilson's outfit. It do be looking good. And then it comes with a little bunny rabbit. Iris's homemade dress. Susato and Ryunosuke's outfits were both created by Iris. As such, they share a number of design elements with Iris's new outdoors attire and Sholmes' regular clothes. I suppose you could say they're Susato and Ryunosuke's uniforms for the Sholmes Consulting Detective Agency. In keeping with the period setting, Susato's usual look is a very modest female student's attire, but I felt that it kept me from bring out her full feminine charm. So I employed Iris's help to unlock it in this costume. Somebody made a translation bug. Wow. Pretty good. Oop. If anybody's wondering why I keep doing that, it's because I want to zoom in, but then I accidentally only press it once. Pretty good. Herlock Sholmes. You buy a heart purse like that? I'm sure they sell it. You could do a cosplay. Herlock Sholmes. What? He keeps drawing Sholmes with like the most drugged out look. This is canon. I'm not even joking. This is canon to Sherlock Holmes. Just like him tweaking out. Dude, Holmes just with his man tits out there, dude. Just out there. Herlock Sholmes. I thought to draw Sholmes facing forwards this time, in contrast to his publicity illustration for the first game. But as I drew, it struck me that the pose I'd chosen wasn't very Sholmes-like at all. Isn't it though? As I struggled to come up with something more befitting, I was tasked to create a teaser illustration in which Sholmes and Ryunosuke would stand shoulder to shoulder, at which point it became vital that I balanced their look visually. It led to what I feel is Sholmes' most natural stance, the three-quarter pose. Oh, okay. I really need to read these out before I comment on, like, I don't know, it doesn't look too bad. Okay, this is the redrawn one. Well, so he wound up standing at almost the exact same angle, and I experienced a ton of deja vu as I drew. I swear it's a totally different picture. Lol. The insert illustration, the enlightened Sholmes on the left. Enlightened. Is that what that's called? Enlightened. Captures the moment in which Sholmes hits upon his latest transcendental idea that transcends both time and space. Probably right as Iris was about to get some shut-eye too. And he comes up with those ideas in the middle of, you know, smoking sessions. Sholmes Japanese Jumble Mix. I wanted an excuse to dress Sholmes up in Japanese clothing since the production of the first game, but after the second game came and went with no such opportunity either, I'd started to give up hope. That's when the talk of alternate costumes arose, and I swiftly jumped at the chance to turn my idea into a reality. Of the three new outfits, Sholmes' is the one I had the clearest idea from the get-go, so his was the first to be completed. Yeah, you know, a completely different in theme from the other ones. I like the one where he's wearing the mask. Fits him perfectly. I originally imagined that it would be something he would wear in Japan, so it was even more Japanese in design at first, but as it was meant to be a costume for Great Britain, I pulled back on it a little to bring it in line with the other two. I would have loved to see what that original design was then. I also came up with Japanese-style outfits for Iris and Van Zieks, actually. Live for Van Zieks? Why don't we get to see that? But all that was needed were the three, so unfortunately, those two other designs will never see the light of day. You could have put it in this game! You could have put it in the art book! Come on! Unlike Ryunosuke and Susato's outfits, which were made by Iris, Sholmes made this by himself. Although the mask he wears is not a typical Kitsune Foss mask, but a Wagahai cat mask. Really? You love it? I like it a lot. It makes me sad that there aren't even more costumes. Even now hearing that there were more designed. So, what the heck? What the heck? Iris Wilson. I strove to bring out the cuteness befitting of a child her age more than in the previous game's illustration. I also wanted to show off her knapsack and the charms hanging off from it, which had both been hidden behind her. Also of importance was how she would look when paired with Sholmes in various promotional materials. And it's funny that he mentions it being hidden behind her, because that ended up being a plot point with one of the deductions. Like, you have to look behind her and notice she has a knapsack. The character designer must have been really happy to know that that did not go unnoticed in the gameplay. Also of importance was how she would look when paired with Sholmes in various promotional materials. Outdoors attire. I'd actually designed this during the production of the first game, so I was thrilled to be able to bring it out again after I put it away for various reasons. It's her outfit for going to Disneyland. Got the Mickey Mouse ears. Am I just now noticing that it really does look like a mouse face with like the nose and the eyes? The jacket she wears over her indoor clothes is based on steampunk aviators, to which I added elements that made her more resemble the little bear-shaped Lucky Charm she's made of herself. Incorporating flowers and hearts into the design, I landed on a mildly Eastern motif for the decorations on her hat, and when she lowers her goggles, she looks just like her Lucky Charm. There's an official art of Iris in a kimono, or yukata, but it's cut off from the shoulder so you can't really see it. Different hairstyle. I wonder if that has anything to do with the design that the designer originally made. Maybe it did see the light of day. Alright, well, here's the boyo, Barok van Zieks. This art! Yo, this is amazing! Also, is this red or green? I'm actually asking. Because this is probably the most clear example I can think of it looking green to me. This straight up looks green, but if it's red, then that shows I actually am colorblind. Barok van Zieks. I'd drawn two versions of Van Zieks, one with and one without his cloak, so that they might be used during the early and final days of the first game's promotion, respectively, to show him in two different lights. Greenish brown with a tint of gold? Interesting. Unfortunately, only the cloaked one, where most of him was shrouded to show his Reaper of the Bailey facade, was ever used, so I made sure his Resolve illustration would show both his dark demigod and aristocratic prosecutor sides. I'd also hoped we could create a new in-game character model based on this open cape look in the second game, but sadly, it was not to be. There are a number of mysteries surrounding Van Zieks related to his past, and the Reaper moniker at the end of the first game, so it was a great relief to finally resolve them all in the second. Being able to draw him as he really is and show a different side of him from the Reaper was the greatest catharsis for me. I like to see that the character designer was just having fun making all these designs. They're not just like, well, I gotta design the 302nd character in Ace Attorney that ends up being a witness that becomes the murderer. Oh boy, another one. No, like, him being able to tell stories with just the designs of the characters, that's a mastery of craft right there. I really respect the character designer for Ace Attorney. Well, at least for the Great Ace Attorney. I don't know which games he's been involved with, but they're pretty good. The Masked Apprentice! Whoa, spoiler! I suggested the idea of giving Van Zieks a young male judicial assistant during the development of the first game, and whilst it was well received, he couldn't be included due to time constraints. Oh man, imagine how cool. Imagine how much more the first and second games would have like connected if the Masked Apprentice was part of the first one. Dude. I made the suggestion to Neo during the second game's development and was told it'll be hard to add a new character now, but let me see what I can do. Certainly didn't expect things to turn out the way they did. Wow. Wow. So what? Like, was the plan for the second game not originally to have Kazuma come back? What? What? You're telling me the character designer came up with that? Well, didn't come up with it, but was instrumental in that being the case in the end? My mind is blown. My day... What's the opposite of ruined? My day is saved. Man, you know what? I have no regrets. No regrets just randomly streaming the Great Ace Attorney again. Just to read all of this, dude. Like, hell yeah. Originally, I'd proposed that this younger judicial assistant could act as a rival to Susato, and that he and Van Zieks would enjoy a close and heated dynamic. Instead, their cooler, more distant relationship worked out rather well, I think. Visually, he was to serve as a backdrop to this mentor. Coupled with the need to create the biggest impact possible when his true identity is finally revealed, very little besides his mask is visible in order to create an aura of mystery. Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. From a narrative perspective, Kazuma represents the theme of confluence and contrast between East and West. As such, his prosecutor's outfit is based on Western clothing with Eastern flourishes. Another major task for me was how to change his appearance whilst keeping to the core elements of his design and overall form. For example, the swapping of Kazuma's university student uniform for a military-style dress uniform. Other examples include the replacements of his Eastern Hachimaki headband for a Western ascot and tie, and his Japanese katana for a European saber, and his eventual use of both swords at the same time. It feels a little sacrilegious though, to remove the headband. Like, who is he even at that point? He's a shadow of his former self, but that's the point. That's the point. He's forgotten who he is and who he's meant to be. His main colors take inspiration from the Japanese flag and white snakes, which hold spiritual significance in Japanese folklore. His family crest, which is based on real Janome snake eye crests, and mask are both snake themed too. No wonder it looks so menacing. No, what? I made this suggestion anew during the second. No. He's also predominantly in white to stand in contrast with Ryunosuke's black uniform. I was completely sure this was the way to go when I envisioned how his dramatic return would play out when he regained his memories. A bright form emerging from under a dark cloak like a beam of light chasing the haze and darkness away, and also as though he were shedding the dark varsity jacket of his past, like a layer of old skin. Like Van Zieks, the details in Kazuma's design serve to convey the affluence of the prosecution, whilst in contrast, the relative simplicity and modernity of his outfit conveys a sense of progress. Beautiful. Yeah, knowing that it wasn't totally originally designed, I don't know, to be that this would be Kazuma. Who knows? Who knows what was going on in Shu Takumi's mind? Maybe he did plan for Kazuma to come back and, like, just as a prosecutor. And then when the character designer is like, oh, what if Barok van Zieks had an apprentice? Takumi's like, I'll see what I can do. Clint Van Zieks. Clint only appears in illustrations throughout the game, but as he is a key figure in the story, I approached the design as though he were a main character. I set about creating his design by retaining certain elements to create similarities between the brothers while inserting new elements to contrast the differences between Barok's kin and Clint's yang. Barok's yin and Clint's yang. As with Barok's navy blue, Clint's red jacket is a reference to the traditional colors of the uniforms of the Queen's Guard, and was just a thing to convey his positivity and brilliance. That really looks like he's going to war. First introduced in Adventures, the crossed swords in the Van Zieks family crest are actually also a representation of the true brothers, although as the emblem was used over many generations, I can't very well say it's only all about them. Using a pair of crossed swords as the belt buckle also hints at how they become bound by honor or glory, which was holding them back in various ways. That is his belt buckle! I never noticed. I thought it was just like Spiky McSpikerton. Imagine how bad it would hurt if he was to, like, from a lying down position, try to sit up. Like, oh, those spikes! Oh, my stomach! The badge at Clint's chest was always meant to serve as a memento of him for his little brother, which we were finally able to show and resolve. Narratively, I was able to make one very influential contribution in relation to Clint. One day I very boldly proposed to the director, Mr. Takumi, how about making Clint's hunting dog the Baskerville Hound? Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm adjusting my microphone and adjusting, like, my camera and, geez, everything's falling. Hold on, we're good. Sorry, everybody. Technical difficulties. At the time, Mr. Takumi himself hadn't quite hit upon how to solve the Baskerville problem yet, so he wasn't even sure if it was going to include it in the story. Therefore, I figured I had nothing to lose by suggesting it. But the Baskerville Hound, look at the doggy! Look at it! Look at those ears. Like bat wings. Ready to fly away. Aristocrats often went hunting with their dogs back then, so it seemed like a period-appropriate way to show Clint's social status and charismatic personality, and to connect him to the specifics of the case. So many things coming about by accident. Excuse me, is this like Barok van Zieks teaching Clint? Or was Clint the older brother? I forget. How to stretch your leg so that you can pound it on the desk? Yo, desk slam. And then the dog's doing it too. Yeah, that's totally what the dog's doing. I also suggested placing a certain vital piece of evidence in a very specific location. Man, there's gonna be so much. So much. We're almost there though. Genshin Asogi. My goal with this design was to convey Genshin's standing as the head of the Asogi clan, a family of samurai warriors going back generations, and as Kazuma's father. He also shares a number of traits with his son. The first is a thin white strip of cloth he uses to tie his hair back, which flutters in the winds of change that blow around him. The second is this western suit and boots he dons. So you're telling me that the winds of change are genetic? I've got all the recessive genes, brother! By virtue of his willingness to travel to Great Britain, I felt that he too must have been a progressive thinker, so I made his clothing resemble those of Kazuma. And of course, he wears the great sword Karuma by his side as well. In addition to these shared traits, I gave Genshin a slim yet athletic build to give the impression that he's very fit and light on his feet. I did not. When he was wearing the little, I guess his wax figure, I definitely did not get that feeling. He looked rather thick. But I guess that might have just been the pose. Family crest. Swords and snake eyes was the theme that was established for the Asogi family crest during the development of the first game. But seeing as they descended from samurai and this was something I could use to hint at the darkness lurking in the depths of Kazuma's personality, I simply fell into this design as the most obvious choice. The fact that I could use it in a meaningful way in Resolve and that I could tie it into the apprentice's design is something I'll raise a toast to my past self for. I'll say, planning ahead, even if you don't know what you're planning for. Designer knows what he's doing. Let me take a sip of water. I don't exactly redeem hydrates today, so I'm gonna have to do that for y'all. Is that young Sholmes? Is that young Sholmes and young Mikotoba? Look at that. Frickin' heck yeah. And what's that supposed to be? Baby Iris? Wow. What is this expression? What is this expression? Mikotoba being like, here! Have the bottle. Take the bottle. Feed the baby. I'm just gonna look smug while I do it. Eugene Mikotoba. Mikotoba's surprising past is finally revealed and resolved. Of course, all of his backstory had been set during the first game's development, so that was the plan from the beginning. I mean, of course, that made sense. So everything I'm about to finally share I drew during my time and adventures. Young Mikotoba can get it though. I mean, he does. He has a daughter. He had a wife. It makes sense. Mikotoba's western suit that appears in Resolve was actually designed in conjunction with his Japanese kimono. In fact, the color of his suit is more or less what decided the color of his hakama trousers for me. 18-year-old Holmes, 26-year-old Mikotoba. This is not an 18-year-old. There's no way. Freaking 18-year-old man. There's no way he was that tall at 18. Like, I guess in this, you could say that, like, Mikotoba's a fully grown man and Sholmes is still, like, getting there. Look at that. Lemonade Cafe, nice ninth. Hope your trip's doing well. No hydration today, no redemptions. We can't afford to be sidetracked today. It would. I've got a lot to go through, and it would take so much time. But I actually did just take a drinky drink, so just for you. Therefore, the real focus of his design was not on his relation to Susato as her father, but rather on his relation to Sholmes as the great detective's legendary partner. Dr. Wilson. Yeah, I know. European. Sholmes grow different. Been a mess? Well, I'm sorry. Hope it gets better. Best wishes. Pokemon best wishes. On the surface, he's a serious-looking man with a soft, amiable charm. Young Mikotoba was designed to pair well with Sholmes and to seem more full of vim and vigor than his older self, wrapped in an aura of style and gentle kindness and, tap dancing. Young Mikotoba is one of my favorite designs, and whilst I couldn't show him off visually in the game itself, I'm glad I'm able to share him with you here. He should have totally appeared in the game. Put him in a flashback. The legendary pair. Go get some sleep. No problem, Haru. Thanks for coming on by, and definitely hope you don't miss your flight. Here we have Sholmes and his partner in their youth. In my mind, young Sholmes was much rougher around the edges than he is now. This is rougher? This is rougher?
Here I come, rougher than the rest of them, the best of them, tougher than leather.
In my mind, rougher around the edges. Though I suppose everyone goes through that at some point in their life, right? I like to think that it's thanks to living with Iris that his rough edges have been sanded down quite a bit now, because it is the people and life experiences we hold dearest that change us the most. Ain't that the truth? Hoo! The Mikotoba Step! The splashy secret of resolve dubbed the Mikotoba Step. I like it, by the development team. I proposed this as a way to give Mikotoba a unique yet complementary animation to Sholmes' grand flourishes and gestures during their dance introduction, without completely deviating from his usual gentlemanly ways. After all, a true partner is one with the confidence to bring their own unique talents to the fight. Ryutaro and Rei. Wow! Rayman Bami. Okay, that's enough of that. Ryutaro Naruhodo. Since women aren't allowed in the Japanese courtrooms of our game, it quickly became a question of how to present Susato as a man. Design-wise, there were two options. A look so unique that neither the player nor the other characters would know who she was, or one where the player would soon figure it out, but the in-game characters would remain oblivious. I'm guessing they went with the second one. The first idea would have made things very difficult, and since there were no qualms about using the second, I was able to finalize a masculine look for Susato without any fuss. On top of technical limitations, not being able to cut her hair considering what was to happen in the story after the first episode left design options very limited anyway, so the second choice was the only realistic one we ever really had. I worked in a number of things such as making the jacket look just a little too big, and the sleeves just a little too long to keep the design soft and cement the girl decides as a boy look without overselling it. Like maybe just borrowing the uniform from the school and Mikoto was like, sorry, this is the only one that would fit you. Rei Membami. Rei actually didn't exist at all in the first draft of the story, so I guess they didn't remember her. The only new character stated to appear in episode 1 was Mini Memo, and the defendant was Mikotoba, whose defense was to be handled by Susato. A series... Oh, so that was the original idea. To put... Oh! That makes a little bit more sense. A little bit. Not really. But to put Yujin Mikotoba on the stand, put him as the defense, it maybe makes a little more tie into the first game being like, hey, Susato, can you come back to Japan? Yujin needs your help. I doubt that would have been exactly the reason, since, trial would have been delayed for months while she comes back. But something like that. Oh, Howery. A series of thoughts struck me when I read that draft. First, I wasn't sure it was such a good idea to have Mikotoba be the defendant and also have him standing next to his own daughter, giving her advice on how to best represent his case. Yeah, at that point he's just representing himself. Second, a whole episode featuring nothing but a bunch of old men would make for a very dull color palette. Sure, Susato was there, but she's dressed as a man too. Compared to the vibrancy of adventures, it just felt lacking, I thought. So along with that feedback, I sent in my wish for a female student character to be added who could either be Susato's best friend or a younger schoolmate who absolutely adores her. This wasn't just for the sake of the visuals, but also to create a parallel structure between Susato and Ryunosuke, and the legal situation in which they find themselves in with their respective best friends. That was a good call. Super freaking good call from the character designer. Like, absolutely. Created that parallel, and I guess, like, he probably included some elements of Kazuma's design in Rei's, just because. I believe this would serve to build anticipation in players as they came to see the similarities with the first episode of Adventures, and show yet another side of Susato, adding depth to her character. And she had, like, Ryunosuke's eye twitches. Beautiful. Jigoku and Hosonaga. What the frickin' bathing outfit and the turtle? I cannot. Bathing suit. Turtle. Am I not turtly enough for the turtle club? Is the... No, it's not. Never mind. Never mind. Look at Jigoku with his suit. Knowing from the outset that Jigoku would play a different role in Resolve, I folded elements from the Buddhist god of hell and judgment. Oh. Breaking Enma into his design. I also designed a suit around the same time. The shape of his hat is reminiscent of the judge's hat he wears at the Supreme Court in Japan. And his unusually hulking build for a Japanese man is thanks to his love of martial arts, such as judo and karate. Is that the reason? The buttons on his suit also reflect Japanese and Buddhist imagery, such as family crests in the shape of Dharma wheels, Rinpomo, and the other 8-spoke crests in general, whilst his beard is shaped like licks of flames. Oh, that's what that is. It did not come across that way in the game, I'll say. The lines of his suit are meant to invoke the look of a clergyman, similar to Strongheart. In the world of Great Ace Attorney, a judge's ruling is not unlike the word of a god, after all. Satoru Hosonaga. When Mr. Takumi was looking for ideas of where to set the Japanese episode at the start of the second game's development, I suggested the seaside or a sea-bathing area. It was clearly not a setting we were going to be able to use in the British episodes, and considering when the game was to be released, the original release was in the summer, it seemed like a great match. That's the reason? Just to give a little beach episode? Oh yeah. I also thought it would be easier to generate excitement at a glance if we could show some favorites returning in bathing attire from the era. What? It really was just to be a beach episode. The first swimming costume that I completed was for Hosonaga. Mr. Takumi asked that I place something on the inspector's head so that he might have something sticking out above water during his submarine stakeout. After some brainstorming, I hit upon the idea of a turtle figurine with a cute little head that would wobble to and fro that I especially enjoy. And look at that on the right. He's got a tan from being out in the sun. Thanks to all that sun during this seaside stakeout, Hosonaga also now looks a little healthier with his new tan. Just mentioning. There are, however, a few spots where his tan line is visible on closer inspection, like the area around the straps of his Zori straw sandals and the hems of a swimming costume around his neck and arms. For comparison, I've tried an illustration of his usual pale self on the bottom right. Didn't even notice. Ouchie. After his previous top knot was given the chop in the first game, Ouchie II is a man who's finally begun his own cultural revolution. So I was given the task of revolutionizing his hairline design. It's definitely revolting. I'll give it that. Freaking mini memo Lupin III over there, dude. I settled on the look of a fallen samurai or Buddhist monk with only the small tuft he carefully nurtured being the new addition. You know what? I didn't think I'd have a chance to talk about this, but when I was driving back from NorCal the other day, as you do on a 5-hour road trip, I had to take a rest stop to use the bathroom, and I went to the bathroom at this gas station with only one bathroom, and people were in line for it. And the people in line were a bunch of, I think, Buddhist monks, just like standing outside. And I guess it makes sense, like they gotta use the bathroom too. But like out in the middle of the deserts of California, I never expected to find just a bunch of monks waiting for the bathroom. And I wasn't completely sure if they were waiting in line, so I had to ask. But of course I guess they were in silence, so like I'm like, are you waiting for the bathroom? And they're just like, Yeah. What nice people. So how about that? That's my little story. I've never interacted with monks in my life, but now I have. Yeah. You like that, Soseki? Oh, you're right. Hold on, where's that picture? Yeah, this art. It's the same pose. He finally became his real self. Corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures. They are the same picture. Although now he's not in a suit, but he's in like a kimono? I settled on the look of a fallen samurai Buddhist monk. Yeah. Natsume. Soseki was in a suit for his appearance in the first game, but now he was not only back in Japan, but a literary sensation. So as befits an author of the era, I traded his suit jacket for a haori jacket. That's what it's called. I drew him once in a full kimono as well, but it was simply too Japanese and visually uninteresting. Plus, it took away from the sharp, frenetic gesticulations our Soseki is known for, so I let the clothes under the haori western. Oh yeah, he is wearing a vest, isn't he? Look at Cat. Look at Cat. Just giving the side eyes, like, can we get a Drooby 2 eyes in the chat? Well, what else did I want to say about Soseki? I wanted to say something, but I forgot. The other reason is that Soseki still has much to achieve as a writer, so this was a way for me to show his transition towards greatness. Growing into the real him. He's covered in kittens in this illustration because you can't help but think cats when you hear Soseki. But actually, this is also related to one way I thought we would make Soseki's animations more amusing and cheery. I thought it would be enhanced even the previous game's animations to have those three clingy kittens cling on even harder as they are swung about by Soseki's wild gesticulations whilst they cry, meow, meow, meow. But due to time constraints, we were only able to bring a little of that to life in the credits. Speaking of which, when we settled on the seaside setting, I did consider putting Soseki in a fundoshi loincloth. That didn't go anywhere. Just a loincloth? I don't think people would have appreciated that. Freaking naked Soseki. So sexy, Natsume. Write in many memo. As a young journalist, I'd imagine he'd be out in the sun a lot, chasing after leads. So I started by giving him a tan and a lean fit figure, and the look of someone who's ready to do anything to get the story. So Lupin III. The look of someone who would do anything to get his target. The newspaper he works for was originally going to be called Teito Shimbun, the Imperial Capital Times, but it didn't seem right to have such a respectable sounding publication in print, gossip, and hearsay. So it's more like a tabloid now. From his very grain-themed name, Mamemomi, really, in Japanese, which means unhusked bean. Mamemomi. I suggested that he work for a small agency called Daikoku Shimbun, 5 Grains News, from Daikokutin, which is the god of 5 grains. That's actually kind of cool, how they gave his English pun a name that was sort of similar to his original name, Mamemomi, Many Memo. The bales of rice and rice stalks in his armband are a reflection of that. It is a little sad how they lost the rice and bean stuff, though. Grain themed. Many Memo. Sham Spear. Oh, cool. Altamont and Meterman. The jumping off of Sham Spear's design was one simple word: Shakespeare. He looks glamorous at first, but the closer you look, the more pretentious his stage costume seems. William Pretenci. It certainly feels like a period costume, but it soon becomes apparent just how out of place it is even in Victorian times. The thin veneer of his flashy clothes seems to suggest wealth. He's actually as poor as they come. Look at this alternate outfit color design. Look at how flash. Look at all the gems. I bet they're just plastic. I knew from the beginning that I wanted those gaudy, oversized gems to come flying off during his final breakdown, so I liberally applied them all over his costume. Along the bottom of his jacket, I had attached a number of bells so that he'd make a jingling sound whenever he moved. It also makes him kind of look like a jester. My intention was to make him seem very annoying and shallow, but when we actually added the sound effects to bring my vision to life, we found that it was simply too much, so we ultimately left him out. He used to have sound effects? We were robbed. We were robbed! You love that in the whole series, Soseki was involved in 3 cases. He's your favorite defendant. Yeah, like, who knows how much they intentionally planned that, but returning character, like, if you found him annoying in the beginning, it's like, don't worry, you'll grow into him. Don't even worry. Adron B. Meterman and Lady Quinn B. Altamont, from the description of his job going door to door to collect the gas company's money, I imagine Meterman as a worker bee. Oh, you know what's really cool that I never noticed? Mr. Popeye over here. The fact that his bag on the side makes it look like a bee's ass. I mean, obviously Queen Bee has that motif, but I didn't really notice Meterman had the same kind of thing going on. Oh, and his little ascot would be his wings. And a worker bee's job is to bring the money he collects back to the queen. So that's how the wife of the owner of Altamont Gas, Lady Altamont, came to be modeled after a queen bee. I also chose to design them as a pair so I could set them apart from the other boldly colored and uniquely dressed characters in this game, and to create a sort of bee-themed uniform for the gas company. Altamont's umbrella is obviously her stinger. Other elements include her waist sash and the Meterman scarf, which were drawn to look like wings. His head and profiles also somewhat resembles the shape of a bee in flight. I don't get it. I guess? Maybe? Like, they show it right here. I guess? That doesn't really look like a bee in flight to me. That looks like a bee about to sting. Maybe that's a mistranslation. I just love these games, though. I love the character designs. Like, this is gonna be so weird out of context for anybody who sees this without watching me actually play the game. It's all coming back to me. After having played Investigations 2, even. Gina and Toby. When I first drew up her design, she was set to be a detective, yet she appeared in Adventures as a pickpocket. So really, Gina returning in this way was like her rising up to be what she was always meant to be. Ah, she finally has clothes that fit. Oh, okay. So this was probably her original design, and then they altered it a little bit. Like, they made the shirt more baggy, and then they made it dirtier, and stuff like that. For Resolve, I brought back a portion of my original Inspector Lestrade design, while adding in bits of Gina's personality based on what had happened to her in the story so far. If you liking this outfit, it looks pretty smart, doesn't it? I love the coat, though. Like how it's not a full trench coat, but it's also still pretty long. Kinda reminds me of the 10th Doctor. You want the puppy? Oh, that's a good puppy right here. This puppy, the name's Toby. My main goal was to bring out more of her feminine side by giving her a cleaner and more stylish appearance. Okay, I'm just gonna say I'm a little bit weirded out by how much the character designer is like, gotta show off the feminine side, gotta make it peek through, gotta show it off. I'm like, okay, I get it. I also gave her a trench coat to make her more detective-like, and bring her visually closer to her mentor, Gregson. Gina's horseback riding boots are a holdover from when I imagined her like a member of London's mounted police. I thought that perhaps she and Van Zieks could make an entrance together on horseback. Oh, you think she was maybe supposed to be a lot older? I wouldn't say it, I wasn't gonna say it, Queen Miku, but yeah. Gotta show off the booba. The distinctive buttons on her hat are from the hat she used to wear as a pickpocket. Competitive as always, Gina's fashioned them into something resembling the goggles Sholmes and Iris wear, if in form only, on her new hat. I like it. Like you could pull the hat down and pretend to have button eyes. Toby! Now to the Hellhound, Chief Inspector Toby. Gina was always supposed to have a faithful canine companion, so that when she was returned to Resolve, I pushed extra hard for her to finally have a dog this time around. And since there's already a detecting dog named Toby in the original canon, it was quickly approved. Canon of what? You never know. When I looked into the Toby of the stories, I found out he wasn't as cute as I'd hoped, so I searched for an English breed that would pair well visually with Gina and made him a small sweet puppy instead. Puppy. Still, he is a proper police dog, so I gave him a tiny set of very sharp eyebrows. For the color of his fur, I wanted to give him the look and feel of a soft toy bear. Yeah, look at those eyebrows. They're subtle, but they're determined. Regarding the scarf around his neck, Gina's coat lining and scarf feature a traditionally British plaid design, so I thought to link the two of them together with it as though they were cut from the same cloth. Almost literally. Hairbrain, an ass man. Hairbrain! Albert Hairbrain! When I first set out to design him during the first game's development, he was to be a brilliant teen scientist, so I gave him wild and unruly hair like Einstein's and glasses to make it easy to identify his personality. But Hairbrain's backstory was expanded upon and resolved, and with him now being Van Zieks' best friend of a similar age, I had to rebalance his more outlandish animations and expressions to better fit the tone of the relationship. That was one case where definitely he did not plan that out in advance. It feels really, really out of place for him to be friends with Barok. Like, they are two completely different people. What is this? Hold on. Yeah, that does not quite look like him. Almost reminds me of Otacon. Otacon. From the beginning, Hairbrain was a bright and sunny character, and his huge range of expressions and boundless energy were crucial aspects of his personality, so I would jot down various faces and animations as I designed him. Odie Assman. On the surface, he's meant to look like just another nice rich man. Dude looks like a pompous asshole, if you ask me. Like, look at him. Look at him. He's so smug that his smug, shit-eating grin blends into the mustache. Yet there's something clearly suspicious about him as well. Looking kinda sussy. Zoom into his eyes. He's got like Amogus eyes. He doesn't appear in the game for long, but as he was meant to be in a few real-time cutscenes because he's the machine's financer, we had to make a full-body 3D model of him. So I made sure to design him completely from head to toe, even though he mostly only shows up in illustrations. My favorite bit about him is the slightly annoyed and bored expression. Is that his expression? Kinda looks like he's in pain. He's hiding the pain. Hide the pain, Harold. Hide the pain, Edgeworth. Yes. As you can see, I made Asman look as affluent as possible since his name in Japanese at the time was Richie Nande. A pun on why is he rich? Richie Nande! But it was changed at the last second to Eraida Miningen. A pun on a great, useless man. Oh, so that's where Odious Man comes from. I think Richie Nande. Well, if that was his name in Japanese, what would the English pun be? Nice pain, Chibi Gamer. Maybe his name could be Richie Batoy. Yeah, make it like look French or something. Richie but why? But why? You think it's better that Barok and Hairbrain are friends? I think it did turn out well in the end. It's like, in a way, opposites attract. In a way, it's like you never expect Barok van Zieks to have like a human side to him. Add some character to Barok's, add some softness to his character. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think introducing him in what, like the third case? I forget. Introducing him in like the middle of the second game, it really sets the stage for saying, you know, Barok van Zieks and how he's infamous for being the Reaper. You know how we've been pushing that for the entirety of 1.5 games? What if we made him personable? And to do it like, hit the ground running, giving him a friend like this. Not ODS, man, but like this. It really shows like, oh, whatever you think about Barok, it's wrong. Trevor into spells. Yes, Madame Tuspel, so pretty. Oh, she's my favorite. She's got a little witchy witch hat. Enoch Drebber. Story-wise, I was told he's an engineer with a black monocle whose hair color changes from black to white. Oh, okay. I'm like, it doesn't do that. Oh, you mean like in general. Like, his hair color was different earlier in a past photo, and then it changed to white from seeing like the dead body or something. Okay. I thought, okay, never mind. Third case, got it. Perfect time to introduce a new character, I think. So to make the transformation extra obvious, I turned the clear lens of his monocle black too, and loosened his neatly tied black hair into a messy sheet of white to delicately delineate his past self from his present. It's like you just take this, and then you invert almost completely inverted, and then you got the new Enoch Drebber. Not quite, but basically. I never noticed like the plus and minus motifs, or maybe I did? Don't remember. It's been a while. Him being an engineer gave me a chance to include some steampunk elements, and I wasn't about to miss it. The result is the mechanical gauntlet that doubles as a toolset on his left hand, and then allows him to do the robot. The belt and the plus and minus buttons on the jacket are evocative of electrical cables and electrodes. I posited that we make Drebber's animation stiff and robotic, as if he became this way as a result of the dramatic night. Okay, stiff and robotic became literally just doing the robot. After all, you have to wonder just how frightened he must have been for even his hair to turn completely white. Gives him something of a dark yet somehow likable feel, I think. The third case is Peak Gothic, your favorite, chock full of great designs. Putting Enoch and Madame Tussauds in the same case, that's just rude. That's just rude. How could I even resist? Might be one of my favorite third cases in Ace Attorney, you know? Yeah, the Stormstrider, what's up? Yeah, no, we haven't been up to much. We're just going over the little art books and like extra content stuff in the Great Ace Attorney. Yeah, you know, this game that I finished a year ago. Man, has it been that long? Has it been that long? I never got a chance to go over all this stuff, because as you can see, it has been 2 hours of stream, and I am not done just looking at art. So this is more of like a comfy little, hey, you know what? Let's relax before October spoop time. Let's take a look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow. And, yeah. So I will warn, this has major spoilers for the Great Ace Attorney and Great Ace Attorney 2. I think we're past most of the major story spoilers though, so it's just like, here, look at these characters you don't know. More fun than troubleshooting a scanner. I hope your scanner works. Anyway, Esmeralda Tussauds. Originally, Tussauds' name was simply Madame, and she was an elderly lady who was exceptional at her craft. Madame Tussauds. But given the ratio of male to female characters, along with their ages and order of appearance throughout the game, I asked that she be aged down to a young lady instead. I swear, character designer, if you say something about feminine appearances and showing them off, I swear. For story purposes, Tussauds needed to wear a cape or something similar on her shoulders so that she could hide an arm underneath. Yeah, and have like a third arm. She also needed to carry a bag or satchel. And because she was going to be featured in close detail during a dance of deduction, I really wanted to make her design as striking and memorable as possible. I totally believe that. Yo, little witchy witch. As the proprietress of an eerie waxworks museum, that's the joke, by the way. She's the proprietor of Madame Tussauds, which is a parody of Madame Tussauds, the famous wax museum. I've never been to a Madame Tussauds. There's several locations. I think the original is in Britain, which is the reason that this is a thing in the game. I did see one when I was on a trip to NorCal one time, but it wasn't open, so I wasn't able to go to it. Yeah, but it's real. I've been to Hollywood wax museums, but they're not the same. Tussauds operates under the outrageous idea that she should create molds of her subjects from their very real bodies in order to make their soulless wax figures look alive. This conjured up images of black magic and alchemy, which led me to making her a witch. Okay, sure. It might seem a little anachronistic, but I felt that the peculiar and mild disconnect would work well within a waxworks museum. Plus, only in the world of the Great Ace Attorney could I get away with expanding on the visual palette in this way, so I decided to go for it and give her a completely witch-like appearance. Enoch Drebber, oh, okay. Yeah. Scythe and Gory. Mother and daughter, somehow. Peak Gothic, dude! Peak Gothic! Stormstrider's scanner barely works. Got what you need scanned. Thank goodness. I mean, these days phone cameras are actually so good that some of them just have scanner apps. I think I would just end up using that these days. Dr. Courtney Scythe. Again, with Great Ace Attorney actually coming out and Ace Attorney Investigations 2 fan translation. A lot of names I feel like ended up getting reused. Not reused because they weren't really used in the first place officially, but getting used because of the same reasons. It's like convergent evolution, you know? There's a person involved in law named Courtney. How about that? There's a person who's a patrolman named Pat and Rolly. Patricia Rowland. As a key figure in the story due to her standing as a Scotland Yard's chief coroner, I treated her design as equal to that of a main character. Courtney Scythe. I took extra care to balance her design with those of Strongheart, Van Zieks, and other prosecutorial figures, given their relationships to one another and the mood during each of their encounters. I approached her design from the angle of men's attire, as I thought she would have been the exception to the rule back in the Victorian era, working in a very male-dominated field. She looks freaking amazing, though. She's also got bayonetta hair. To that base, I layered on a snake's motif, since snakes were a symbol of medicine at the time. Her syringes are her fangs, and they lend her this cool and intimidating aura like that of a venomous snake. The long, tightly curled pieces of hair and the movable metal rods they're coiled around are also fashioned after snake fangs. Structurally, the rods are attached to the piece at the top of her head. Oh. Yeah, the snakes are subtle. But it works. It works, like, the coat is very, very subtly like snake scales. She got like the caduceus on her tie. And the snake fangs, it's all very subtle. The badge on her chest has a hearts and cross motif, as it was designed around the word Chief Coroner. She's also the head of the forensics investigation team, so I gave her a lot of sharp, straight lines evocative of Art Deco design to make her feel more modern. Maria Gori. Gori is Scythe's daughter and a coroner in her own right. From the initial draft of the story, I gathered that Gori was to be an eccentric young lady who loves to dissect things, so I tried to make her design unlike anything else in the game. Doesn't even look related to her mother, really. Yet, barely does. The key is the imbalance between her cute girly side and her dark side. While she shares a few common traits with her mother, she expresses her regular young girl side with a butterfly-themed custom white coat and fancy ribbons. Her mask is a steampunk version of the Plague Mask, which I use to convey a sense of the past and the unique look of this game's world. I'm sure this exists in real life. Pretty good. I just want to say that these designs are freaking amazing. As always, I've said it multiple times. Here's Mario. Look, they got like... Oh my god, the colors were color picked from the French and Italian flags, really? If they couldn't... As if they couldn't be more French and Italian. Stormstrider's phone is too old? I see. Yeah, well... Hopefully things end up working out, Stormstrider. Balthasar Luna. Because he's the impresario of sightseeing balloons at the Great Exhibition, I gave him a festive look that would fit right in with a carnival-like atmosphere and incorporated his balloons to his clothing. I knew that he would appear alongside Gotts in the game, so I added to his design toy balloons in the colors of those flying balloons, and gave him and Gotts a combined animation where he would hand one over to the boy. Oh, so you're telling me that the character designer also decided on, like, animations? Bohemian Boy Gotts. Gotts is a child of the Bohemian royal family who came incognito to London to see the Great Exhibition. Mr. Takumi told me that there was a masked king of Bohemia who appeared in the original canon. Every time they want to say Sherlock Holmes, they just say the original canon. And that he wanted Gotts to be an homage to that character. For reference, he showed me an illustration from the short story of a dubious-looking man with a large, thick mask on his face, and asked that I also incorporate that mask into my design. And instead, he's just wearing like a little raccoon mask. Since Gotts is of the royal family of Bohemia, my first priority was to make it easy to tell he's a member of nobility from a single glance. To that, I added elements from the man in the illustration to complete the homage. I wonder if I can find that illustration online. Gotts... Sherlock Holmes. You know, with the fact that internet exists and most people just use, like, Google image search, there's a very real possibility that this image search will yield the exact image that the art director probably used. And I think I actually found it. I think I actually found it. Look at this. A dubious looking man with a large thick mask on his face. Yeah, this has gotta be what the actual character designer saw. Dubious. Very dubious. It looks, yeah, you see it, right? The King of Bohemia, right there. Finally, depending on how you looked at him, I wanted there to be a sense that he had been dressed in that outfit like the privileged and entitled little boy that he is. When creating the character model, we paid particular attention to the nuances of his facial structure and the translucent quality of his skin and cheeks that are typical of European children. It was also important to make the lines of his facial profile and shirt cuffs feel elegant and refined. Fabian de Rousseau and Peppino de Rossi. These two are the ringleaders of the Red-Headed League, so first and foremost was making their red hair as conspicuous as possible. From there, I created their color schemes based on the flags of their respective countries of origin, France and Italy. Being from aristocratic families, I gave them beautifully matching outfits with slight variations to show their differences. I never realized. Their statures are so different, I never realized they're supposed to have matching outfits. From there, I created their color schemes based, okay. I especially like Peppino and his assorted expressions and animations. The pasta he slurs was inspired by Italy and his red hair, but the Shoryuken is there simply because we can. The what? The what? I don't remember that. Does he do a rising dragon punch? Shoryuken! Can I just... These expressions, though? These expressions, though. In the case that featured Irene Adler, who later deemed Holmes' lover, even though she married someone else in the OG story, Holmes impressed her with whips. King of Bohemia. Got it. Balthazar, okay. Fresno Seat Peddlers. Yeah, here we go. Mr. Wax Lips over there. I know you. I know you. I know who you really are. Oh, did this ever happen? Gossip, Hugh Boone. According to Mr. Takumi, there's a story called The Man with the Twisted Lip in the canon. As Gossip's design was to pay homage to it, I sensed great potential in the idea of the man who twisted his lip, as it were. Gossip acts as part of a buffoon in the story. Acts the part of a buffoon, so I made his overall design reminiscent of a circus clown. You definitely hit it. I gave him Usopp's voice after all. Venus. I was told she was a match seller, so I created a no-frills design for her. You created frickin' Little Red Riding Hood. That's what you created. Sandwich. He was originally going to be a completely new character, but due to circumstances, I suggested that we merge him with Beppo from Adventures. I figured this could be his new job after he lost his old one over the omnibus incident. Oh yeah! And so mixing elements of what was to be a new character with his old self, Beppo was reborn. Sort of. Here, let's look at the original one. Let's look at character. Beppo. He was in here, right? Right? Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I don't remember anymore now. Anyway. Daily and Evie Vigil. When I read the first draft of the story, I felt a strange sense of realism and charm in their marriage and the distance between them, so I was a bit more restrained in how I expressed their personalities visually. Peppino jumped up like Mario. Oh, so that's what they call the Shoryuken. Ta-ding! Evie's pure love for her husband is evident in the way she genuinely worries about his disappearance and the actions she takes to find him. And knowing how much his wife loves him, Daily strives to keep her happy by hiding the ugly truth from her whilst living a double life till the very facts of his life themselves go into hiding with him. Daily looks tired all the time, but his eyes are full of warmth when he looks at Evie. That's the sense of sadness and sorrow I wanted to convey in his facial expressions. The saddest man. This is the saddest man alive. You cannot find one sadder. The tragedy overwhelms in his heart until it leaks out into his hair. On the other hand, Eevee's design shows how completely open she is and radiates a perpetually bright and happy aura, like the sun. Man, the second couple in this game series to be based on the sun and moon. Kaden, Barry Kaden, and Chicken Stroganoff. From just the sound of his job title of prison governor, a tall, stocky figure came to mind. Look at the man, he's so wide. From there, I built a few elements of dandyism into his design, taking him far away from the austere taste of the stereotypical British gentleman. Other aspects of his look are based on a prison motif. The vertical stripes reminiscent of jail cell bars on both Kaden and Vigil's waistcoats may be a point of pride for those in the prison service, I suppose. Kaden also likes to talk with his back to people, so I really narrowed his waistline for a tight, sharp silhouette from behind, and gave him rock-hard thighs and calves. Alright, well, you know, rock hard, like the rock hard foundation of a jail. There's a bit of backstory to Kaden that we didn't get to explore in the game, but as the prison's governor, he isn't well liked by the inmate population. One day, Kaden was attacked in his office by a few escapees. You think the artist is just thirsty? Yeah, basically. That's when he got that scar on the back of his head. He has a scar on the back of his head? He does. And ever since then, he's had that axe and rifle and a ton of handcuffs at the ready in his office for self-defense. He also carries a smaller axe and a holster by his side for that reason. You know, when you examine the stuff in his office, you do kind of get the feeling that he's overly prepared for something to happen. So in a way, the backstory still peeked in through a little bit. We wanted to give a bit of animation using that smaller axe, but the fact that he has it on him at all is a quiet testament to the life he's lived. Handcuffs. Well, he's a prison warden. Of course he has handcuffs. It's a vivid reminder that even when it's not depicted in the game, these characters have lived entire lives of their own. Chicken Stroganoff. What about Chicken? Chicken is Beef's little twin brother. So I hope you'll have fun looking for the similarities and differences in their designs. To bring out a sense of individuality, I used a little lick of hair in front to suggest that maybe, just maybe, he might be slightly more naive than his older twin. I also made Chicken's colors different from Beef's, and at the same time changed the coloring of a certain sister ship to match, making it a bit more chic for its role as a stage of a most spectacular show. Yeah, the SS Grouse. Beautiful. Male Strongheart, once more. Taking his rightful place in the story, the Lord Chief Justice's return and resolve meant I could finally draw him as I fully envisioned in my very first designs. Looking a little crispy, Male Strongheart. Pulling those in his circle of influence under one by one, he's the embodiment of his name, the heart of a maelstrom. His role in the story is also that reason why his other motif is the unicorn, a highly intelligent creature that shares the royal coat of arms in the United Kingdom with a lion whilst possessing a deadly strength of its own. And look at that, when he gets angry, that horn really do be horny. Strongheart's usual cane is replaced and resolved with a unicorn hammer that makes a loud and unique clang sound when used in court. It symbolizes the Lord Chief Justice himself in the final chapter of the story, and adds a certain color in the last trial of the Great Ace Attorney. Descent and breakdown. As the story unfolds, the tiny vortex in Strongheart's hair starts to spiral out of control, until the little unicorn horn in it moves to out of place. The overall shape of his hair transforms into a raging inferno. As a reflection of his anger, his usually cool and intellectual demeanor also morphs into one of terrifying ferocity. Then, during and after his breakdown, I wanted to capture him going out in an enormous blaze, with nothing left to burn. It's a rather flashy breakdown, but one well suited to the end of the story, I think. I hope you'll take a look at the sequence again with my remarks in mind. I definitely will. I've watched that scene multiple times now. It's so good. Yeah, friend of the stream Wookie stream the Great Ace Attorney wanted to, and like, I was able to catch her doing the whole Bernie Crispy part. That's my favorite. Come to think of it, the backlit Strongheart with his arms stretched out towards the heavens is a key visual for Resolve is meant to make him look like he's been crowned with glory, but it's actually also a reference to his final scenes of him burning, burn. Iris's Lucky Charms and Ryunosuke, and what's with the babies? Bubble. What? Oh, look at that! I didn't know that Van Zieks had his own like cat mascot thing. From the popular pairing of rabbit and bear characters in Japan, I had designed a set of handmade charms called Hairly and Barris. No, they are not. No, they are not. Why localize the names, huh? Why localize the names in here? What's the point? Come on. Come on. For Iris to carry around on her knapsack. And there they hung during all of adventures, waiting for their chance to shine, until finally, in Resolve, their day had come. Their inclusion in the story was just one of the requests I made of Mr. Takumi before we started work on Resolve. Besides Sholmes and Iris, I also created figures for the other main characters. I approached the designs from Iris' point of view, and it seems as though she rather thinks of Ryunosuke as just a bit mousy. Piggy bank merch. I wonder how much they cost. I need, but probably very expensive now. As for herself, it appears whilst she's all pink and also cute on the outside, she fancies she's a real bear on the inside. That's one thing I want to do the next time I'm able to visit Japan. Might be soon, who knows. I hopefully hope that tickets to Japan aren't too expensive right now, because as of last week, they reopened to visitors. Like, you can just buy a ticket to Japan. You don't need any caveats. You don't need, like, to be on a tour or anything like that. You can just go to Japan. So one thing I need to do is scour all of the used pawn shops and whatever, book offs and whatnot, and find anything you can't just buy online. Anything. In a bonus episode, I offered up the idea of including a Van Zieks version, which was pronounced Meow Zieks. Nyan Zieks! Nyan Zieks! And the latest addition to the cast is Hejina, who was used on some merchandise. I feel blessed that I was able to create a Lucky Charm design for each of the main characters. Hairly, Bearish, Ryunosuke, Susato, Kazuma, the Masked Apprentice, Meow Zieks. Man, why don't I ever see this? Regina the Hedgehog? With a hedgehog on top? How deep does it go? Ready to be in Sonic Frontiers. Here we go, the real names. Ryunosuke, Usati, Usalak, Nyasogi, Hejina, Kumaris, Nyan Zieks. Thank you, Windy. Yuruchara mascots. I initially doodled Ryunosuke as a bit of fun during a break from my work, so here instead are my proper drawings from when we officially turned them into little piggy banks and giant stuffed toys. The retro chubby baby look is a throwback to a popular style of Japanese piggy banks from the late 20th century. Oh, I like the one with Herlock and his pipe. So far, there have been piggy banks of Ryunosuke, Yuruma, Yulms, and Yuru Zieks. But what of the ladies, you may ask? Guess we'll have to wait and see. Did that ever happen? Usato, not Usati. Like Usato, like Susato. And key visuals. The Great Ace Attorney Adventures, key visual. I worked to capture the themes, atmosphere, and general sense of the world itself in one illustration that embodies the whole of the first game with this piece. It's split roughly into two sections, with images of Britain dominating the upper half, whilst Japan takes the lead in the lower. Yeah, with the wave. From the fully drawn blade, a great wave arises, lifting sakura petals up into the English roses above. Don't lie, you just wanted an excuse to have the Kazuma with his sword drawing. In this way, I've created a natural line for the eyes to follow, so that also conveys the trajectory of the story as it starts in Japan and shifts to Great Britain. Ryunosuke's face hits at the iron will hidden deep within, while Susato shows a slight unease. Their expressions suggest how the story of their adventures overseas ultimately comes to a close. Fully drawn what? Fully drawn sword. Look at that. It's a wave. Resolve key visual. Adventures was the first title in the Ace Attorney series to diverge so greatly from the mainline games in its setting that the key visual for it focused heavily on conveying the period, locales, and the general atmosphere of the world itself. However, with Resolve, it was time for the move away from the setting, so the composition of the visual works to emphasize the dramatic tale that binds these characters to one another. Ryunosuke stands at the center with a look of strong resolve in his eyes, while Susato stands next to him with a wrap draped around her shoulders. It's as though, even though after they were forced apart, fate has brought them back together. The top center represents a different time and shimmers with the golden light of a bygone era. But like he said, it's really to foreshadow male Strongheart bursting into flames. Wow, they really just put Genshin Asogi on the box art, didn't they? He's just there. And Clint Van Zieks. From there, the light quickly fades to a dark shades of twilight, and the mood shifts along with the colors to reflect the relationships between the destinies and each character present. Cherry blossoms, which are often used as a symbol of Japan, swirl around them like an embrace or strong gust of wind. The ephemeral nature of Sakura is laid upon a metaphor that the petals that had fallen to the ground in Adventures will be swept up into the air again in Resolve by this gust of wind. Or perhaps headwind in Ryunosuke's case. All in all, I painted a lot of meaning into this illustration, from each character's placement in the overall composition and colors for you to discover once you've finished the game. Who knows? You might even find something new. I also meant for it to be a companion piece to the key visual for Adventures, so it'd make it my day if you were to let your imagination run wild as you viewed the two pieces side to side. I'm just gonna admire this for a second. Yeah. Art. Chronicles package art. Yeah. Man. Why can't we have this? Why can't we have this? We barely get a physical version at all in the US. The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles key visual. I aim to distill the essences of both Adventures and Resolve and blend them into a single piece that shows both the world and story of the Great Ace Attorney with this. Additionally, now that both halves of the tale have been told, and with the passage of time, I was able to draw the characters as I truly see them in this moment. Now this is art that I could have and should have and would have shown off. I was wondering where this art came from because it had pieces of both Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2. And of course, that's why. It's both. As with my other key visuals, I put all my heart into capturing a lot of different things in this one composite picture. A single illustration that evokes the game's world and story, whilst bringing out the charm of each character. Because I were to draw each element separately, I should think I'd need something akin to a long picture scroll just to link them all together. And really, at the end of the day, I simply wanted to draw a beautiful picture. Pretty sure the artist loves Howdy, aka Ray, even though she's a minor character. Pretty big here. Yeah, you know, like, if you're gonna put Ryunosuke and Kazuma together, then it makes sense to put their parallels with Susato and her friend here together as well. Like, kind of tying together that they are supposed to be, like, the same kind of bond. As with my other key visuals, I put all my heart into capturing a lot of different things in this one composite picture. A single illustration that evokes the game's world and story whilst bringing out the charm of each character. Oh wait, I said this already. I sincerely hope these key visuals can serve as your motivation to keep on playing and maybe even as the key to unlocking some fond memories of the game once you're through. Nothing would please me more than if my art could inspire you to lose yourself in the idyllic world of the Great Ace Attorney. Beautiful. In closing, I'm personally fascinated with designs and illustrations where I can catch little glimpses of the thinking behind its form and details. And to, like, find that out from the character designer himself and that all the little pieces he put in. Yeah, like, you obviously love your craft so much. They picked the right person to design this game's characters. It's been an absolute joy for me to share even a sliver of my thought process here with you. Thank you so much for reading to the very end. Art director and character designer, Kazuya Yuri. Thank you so much for playing the game. Alright, y'all. So that was beautiful. I like that a lot. Here's what I'm gonna do right now, though. I'm gonna take a little break because I need to recover. It is getting really hot in my room, even though it's like 63 degrees outside. I'm gonna open the window and let myself cool off. Maybe get a little snack to nom on and watch some streams, maybe. But let's say we'll come back at like 15 minutes later. Let's say about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'll have to stitch together the VOD, because what we're gonna do after is watch all these trailers, all these moving pictures. Now, what I tried to do, I remember being shown these when... Windy, do you remember when you showed me these, like, when I was playing the first game? How many did I do? Did I do all of them? Whatever we're gonna do, I did do all of them? Okay, so maybe I don't have to do all of these right now, or at all. But I do want to watch a couple just to gear myself up back for the escapades. And what else I'm gonna do is... I don't know. Oh yeah, and then I'm gonna do the escapades. Didn't do the last few. Okay. Okay. In that case, if you could help me figure out which ones maybe to start from. Should I just do them all? I'll do them all. Here's the thing, they happen fast, so it's hard for me to voice act it, but I'll try. Maybe I'm just better these days at doing it, so we'll see. I'm just scared of it. I'm scared of it because when I did it last time, I was rushing so much to make sure I catch up with the story. But yeah, let's do that after a break. So I'll be right back. I'll put it up. I'll put the BRB screen up, and y'all can get a snack yourselves and just chill out for a bit. All right? All right. All right. I'll BRB. Alright everybody, welcome back. I just came back from a break. I had a bunch of little snacks from all over the country apparently. And I'm ready. I'm ready for the next part of our little gallery interlude of the great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Are y'all ready? Here are the moving pictures. There are a series of advertisement videos that came out for the first game before it even released, I think. I believe that's the backstory. Correct me if I'm wrong. Little, like, what-if scenarios. Not even. They're just non-canon things of, like, oh, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, you're on trial. Why? Because this is a courtroom game. And we need to advertise what the trials are all about. Yeah. But, before that, let's actually watch this. The Great Special Trial. Because they're all different little promotional videos. Here's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna try to voice act them as if I was playing the game, but they're just videos, so I can't really pause them. So if they go faster than I can read, I'm sorry, but it's gonna have to happen. So let me take a little swig of water. And let's play the Great Special Trial. The visuals may differ from that in the actual game. Oh, there is a pause! That doesn't really help me, though. Capcom presents Marvel Comics. Great Britain, end of the 19th century. The Old Bailey Courtroom. Yes! Your testimony completely contradicts the facts! In fact, I'd go so far as to say that it completely and utterly contradicts the facts. What facts? What are you doing, Mr. Naruhodo? Miss Susato, well, as I'm sure you saw, I was getting into the swing of things. Into the swing? We're going to meet someone amazing in next year's The Great Ace Attorney game, you know? But I think the person in question is going to make a brief advance here debut here tonight. And as a proud young Japanese man, I want to show my fellow star what I can do. Oh, what a wonderful attitude! Still, it is a bit unsettling, isn't it? At night, in this big courtroom, I mean. You're probably still feeling scared after seeing the Hall of Horrors at the Tower of London earlier. Yes, you researched all the best places to visit in the capital, that's for sure. I've already planned our itinerary for tomorrow, which includes an even more terrifying exhibition. I also, shock horror, enjoy non-terrifying sights. By the way, do you hear something? Well, they do say that the Old Bailey is haunted. Don't, please. I'm still on tenterhooks after the talk of ghosts we heard at the tower earlier. Answer! Ah! Who's there?
Of course. Yes, I see it all laid out before me now. The truth, illuminated once again by another deduction. You, sir, are without a doubt a murdered Italian chef.
Murdered? Eh?
Dear me, unaware of your own passing, roaming the corridors and halls of the great courthouse.
Huh?
When you've been killed, my dear fellow, it is customary to drop dead. Huh?
Whoa! Huh? What did that get in his knife, body? What? You're the world famous great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes!
Ah, you've heard of me?
Oh yes, I'm a devoted follower of your wonderful exploits. The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes is delivered all the way to Japan by steamship. I'm assuming also translated.
Elementary, my dear Wilson.
Motosunko. Oh, that's exactly what I've read in your stories.
Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth.
Now he's just quoting.
Yes, that too!
The story is full of ghost delusions too, like the notion that I'm dead.
A great deduction and a gross delusion are but a hair-breadth apart.
Oh, that isn't what I read in the stories. Where exactly did you get the idea that I'm a murdered Italian chef?
An excellent question, my dear Cordon Bleu. So, shall we begin? Allow me to present Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning.
It really does just say Sherlock Holmes.
Earlier today, I received a telegram with details of a taste that prompted me to come here. An Italian chef has been murdered in the Old Bailey.
An Italian chef? In the Old Bailey?
Quite. I have a thorough grounding in the Japanese language. There can be no mistake in my translation.
Eh? Oh, the desert deduction!
I immediately observed the foreign blade at your side, clearly to slice carpaccio.
You think this is a butcher's knife?
The star pattern abundance on your jacket, the unmistakable mark of a skill. And your Eastern appearance might fool a layman, but not a well-traveled detective. And the blood-stained dagger in your back is a sure sign that you're no longer of this world. Accordingly, there can be no doubt. You are Italian, you are a chef, and you are dead. Oh my, one more shinderu. They do say that the Old Bailey is haunted, you know.
That great deduction was blatantly cooked up on the spot to fit the telegram.
But, my dear fellow, you have a knife lodged in your spine. What other explanation can there be?
This? It's just a plaything. You brought them on a whim in the Hall of Horrors exhibition at the Tower of London. She has one too.
Don't tell me. But you're about to make some preposterous claim about not being dead at all.
I'm alive!
But if you're not a murdered Italian chef, then who the devil are you?
Yes! I'm a defense lawyer by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a visiting student from the Empire of Japan, here to further my knowledge of the law. And I am Susato Mikotoba, Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant.
Or so you say, to mask your actual identity. The truth is, you're an Italian chef. You cannot deny there's at least a distinct possibility of it.
There isn't. Mr. Sholmes, must I have a look at the telegram you received? Actual interpreters, please.
Wait, this?
You have only to read the first word to see that there's a clear inconsistency.
There is?
Look more closely. It doesn't say Old Bailey at all. Hold on, let me read it. I can't read it. Never mind. It says Old Daily.
Old Daily?
Of course. There's an Italian restaurant called Old Daily just around the corner. Named after the terrifying army cannon they fire every day to bake their famous pizza. They bake a pizza with a cannon? I heard about wood-fired ovens, but pizza, cannon-fired pizza?
Are you sure?
Oh, yes, clearly. Your interpretation of the crime scene written in the telegram was a complete mistranslation.
What business does a Japanese telegram have in a British escapade anyway?
For fun. And that brings us to the end of this little tale. But we shall see you soon in the game, I'm sure.
You may even be astounded by more of my great deductions.
You'll certainly be astounded by the great delicacies we're cooking up for the courtroom.
In that case, my dear cordon bleu, a dish of your... That was a metaphor!
I can't stop for a second to read the chat at all. I have to pay attention to the trial. Ooh, welcome on in, Common. What's up, Iron Merlin? How's it going? We're playing a little Great Ace Attorney and watching the little special moving pictures. They're all just advertisements for the game before it came out in Japan. Really glad that they, included them though. I'm gonna do my usual thing, voice act them and try to keep up. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, I know. What we're doing right now, I guess rating, maybe I could enable it, but yeah, I'm pressed for time. It's already past 3 hours. I disabled raids today because I didn't want that many interruptions. As much as I appreciate it, I thank you for the thought. But I don't want people to be spoiled. I don't want people to be like one, I'd have to pause it and just address the raid and everything like that. It's just not possible today. I'm sorry. So just sit back and relax and enjoy. Yeah, Wheaty's back. Welcome back. You haven't missed much. We just watched the Great Special Trial. Now time for Special Trial 2017, which I watched last time I played, but let's look at it again. You once had a Thanksgiving turkey cut up and served with a katana. That's awesome, Blade.
I hereby call this court to order for this retrospective of 15 years of Ace Attorney. Are the defense and prosecution ready to proceed?
I'd be more ready if I had a clue where I was.
This is the Supreme Court of Judicature in the Empire of Japan, in the Meiji era.
What? That's a long time ago, right? Huh?
Oh, maybe we'll get to meet some of our ancestors.
Maya, seriously, could you be any less surprised?
It would seem that some part of time warp has taken place. But no matter. So how about the prosecution? Are you ready to proceed?
Well, the thing is, I'm actually a defense lawyer. Judge is a Time Lord, apparently.
Be that as it may, circumstances dictate that for today you shall stand for the prosecution.
Circumstances dictated? I think perhaps he means the powers that be dictated.
I hope you don't think I'm being rude, Mr. Prosecutor, but, who exactly are you? You seem strangely familiar. Interesting. I was just thinking the same thing. It's hard to explain, but it's almost as if I know you as well as I know myself.
Well, I think the fastest way to resolve this is have you both introduce yourselves.
The judge is just old. He was this old back then. Of course, I'm defense attorney Phoenix Wright, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Huh? I thought you might share a surname or something. You could be brothers, couldn't you? I mean, you have to both have that same spikiness.
I think I might remember if I had a long-lost brother, Miss Susato. I remember. Yeah, being told there was an attorney named Ryunosuke Naruhodo somewhere in my family tree.
So you did share a surname once. And Gramps over there is...
Gramps? One of my ancestors! What?
I think she just called you a grandfather, Mr. Naruhodo.
I suddenly feel very old.
That must mean... You standing behind him. You must be one of my ancestors.
What does that mean?
You're dignified and ladylike and, well,
Basically my ideal ancestor, just because you want her to be? I'm your great-great-grand-something my FA!
Well, I'm just listening to Susato Mikotoba, I'm afraid.
Eh? In other words, a total stranger?
Oh, I can't just press catch a break. I mean, wow, that is bitter disappointment.
They're not related.
I hope you can forgive me. Oh, I know, I can fix this. You could become an honorary ancestor of the Faye family,
retroactively.
Susato Faye? Well, it does have a certain ring to it, I'm sure, but...
I think we might have just heard the most illogical request in history.
Oh, but it really does have such an awesome ring to it. Susato Faye.
Ayato Susato.
This trial will discuss the 15th anniversary of Ace Attorney that's being celebrated this year.
15th anniversary? You better believe it. The very first Ace Attorney was released back in 2001. And to celebrate that fact, we've been doing a whole bunch of stuff this year. In Japan.
That's right, like in January, we put on a huge event. The 15th anniversary special trial. It was so much fun.
It was. It really drove home the impressiveness of our 15-year-long history.
Hold it! If I might be permitted to make a small observation.
Sure. What is it?
If driving home the impressiveness of a long history was the intention, then you should have been celebrating the whole then 100 years since Mr. Naruhodo's birth!
Ryunosuke's just like, what? Don't involve me in this. More than 100 years? All this impressiveness just makes me feel impressively old. How does she know how time the regular present is? Susato, this is in the Meiji era, you know.
Wonderful, wonderful. The court bows down before your ancient wisdom.
Arigataya.
I think they started to worship you.
Let's try not to mention the Meiji era again.
Don't forget that last year we took to the stage and finally appeared in a TV anime series too.
So that's when oh yeah, that lines up when the anime first happened.
A new story every week. I mean, that's really ace, right?
Oh, it's TV?
Anime?
What on earth are you talking about? Stop half-explaining things! 100 years is a terrifying chasm to bridge. It really is.
There was another interesting development this year, wasn't there? An orchestral concert. The first in 9 years, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not mistaken. With 9 years of pent-up emotion inside, I cried so hard.
Mata!
Orchestra?
Orchestral?
Concerts?
Western instrumental group performance. Even we ancestors know about those.
Beethoven, Mozart, Bach.
Bach?
Oh, how delightful!
Well, I've never heard of the last one, but sure, you get the idea.
I think it's Bach. Things get a bit bent out of shape when you mold Western names to Japanese.
Oh, Bach. Right? Didn't they used to call Shakespeare Sao or something?
You could have that cool O on the end of your name, Nico.
No. Like O for old man? No thanks.
As a matter of days ago, on August 3rd, the great anticipation across the Empire of Japan, the Great Ace Attorney 2 went on sale.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Yeah, we really enjoyed that one. What a story.
It was so moving, I was blown away.
Well, if they know the game, shouldn't they know these people? I bet you were, after all. There were a lot of loose ends that needed tying up. They acknowledge it. Oh. Are you okay? You just touched a nerve, that's all.
Your ancestor went through rather a lot, you see.
It all started with our great forefathers, after all. We are truly blessed to be in your presence.
Forgive me, Your Honor, but the last statement of yours is riddled with contradictions.
Oh, explain yourself, Mr. Wright.
It's been bothering me right since the start of the trial, actually. The way Mr. Naruhodo moves is very smooth. A little too smooth, I think. He's 3D, that's why. Oh, is it? I didn't notice. Exactly, just like that!
You're right, Nick. Like when you thump the bench, it's really jerky. There's only 2 frames.
Out of interest, what does your objection look like? Igeri. Objection! Whoa! Objection! That's actually not humanly possible, surely. The point is this, the jerkiness on this side of the courtroom proves that we're your predecessors. In other words, we are the ancestors here. He got 2D flips. What can I say to that?
Perhaps you're both predecessors and ancestors of each other.
Retroactive ancestors.
If this is some sort of warping of time, that should be entirely possible, I think.
Well, I think we've covered everything now. It's time for this court to adjourn.
In that case, how are we supposed to get back home, you know, to the 21st century? Just go the long way around, Phoenix.
Well, you could explore Meiji Tokyo and pass time that way.
100 years? Huh? The great imperial capital is full of wonders. I'm sure 100 years will pass just like that. I think this is a perfect opportunity to use that timeless phrase of mine, don't you?
Oh, a joint predecessor-ancestor performance! What a treat! All together now, for the continued success of Ace Attorney. 1, 2.
Objection! Maya, put the brakes on! You know what they say, what goes around comes around. He can't stop!
Goodbye for now, everybody. See you again soon.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Pretty good. Pretty good. I like seeing that again. I know I read that last time, but I just wanted to do it again just because. And what about his sprite from Professor Layton's Phoenix Wright? Yeah, well, that's not canon. He can only be 3D when he's in modern day England, not when he's in past England. When he's in, well, right now they're in past Japan, so even more so. Now I want the whole series to have English plus Japanese text at the same time. Yeah, like if there was like a faithful translation just to compare it, be interesting. Especially for you, Common, since you know Japanese a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, Mikotoba, Ayasato. Susato Ayasato. Makes you feel like they accidentally imply Susato never changes her name. Maybe never marries. Maybe. Or maybe she keeps it. You never know. There's just so much potential for these characters after this game. It's like, who knows what happens? It could be anything. Since they just never really go into it. Okay. Y'all, I was prepared to do all of this. I was prepared to do escapades after. I don't think I can. I don't think I can. I'm gonna... Here's what I'm gonna do. I apologize, y'all. But even this, I'm gonna leave, like, half-finished. Maybe someday I will record these off-stream and the rest of the escapades as well. I'm not gonna stop right here, right now, though. Because if anybody out there has been waiting for escapades all night, I gotta do at least one. I gotta do at least one. So that's why I'm gonna hold off on these, on the little Ryunosuke 7 Days of Sin. I'm gonna jump straight to the escapades, and I'm going to record one for y'all right now. So, you know, whatever I end up doing for the YouTube video, I'm definitely gonna have to cut it here, but yeah. Yo, if you're on the YouTube, I'll see you in the other part, unless you've already watched it. Time works weird that way. But for y'all on Twitch, I'm gonna go now to, like, recording mode. So, this is the real reason that I don't have raids or anything enabled right now. Because I want this to just be like a standalone YouTube video, at least these parts. So, for those of you on this video, on this VOD, thanks for joining me for this little look back on the Great Ace Attorney. I'm glad I was able to get through most of it, though. Like, I'm sure everyone who saw me play the Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2 has been waiting so long for me to look at that stuff. And, you know, I've been waiting too, and I feel ya. I feel ya. Thank you for waiting this long, and I hope you understand, though. I hope you understand, though. So, yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and as always, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell, follow me on Twitch, and yeah. I'm not ending right now, not yet, but I am, like, going to record something while live on stream, if that makes sense. But yeah, end of the video. Bye-bye, next one!